You see the goblins here, all the way down here, are the ones that are gathering themselves up, marching for a couple days probably to go to those villages and come back. That's unusual for goblins. They're usually not very well organized, and they definitely want to multiply and take over territory, but usually in a radius from where they are. Why are they going on these expeditions? They're coming back with armfuls of machinery. Now, you've already done some work exploring, the Kobold Cave and the other stuff, and you realize the kobolds use this machinery to assemble what's essentially mining equipment. So there's something motivating the goblins to come back with that machinery, and it's feeding into a mining operation. Someone is organizing and motivating these goblins to bring the machine parts down there, but you're not sure who. But you know that the ones who are driving the goblins are referred to by the goblins and the kobolds as those assholes, and they point up and across the way from the cave where you are. They point across the canyon to the south, a cave that's sort of halfway up the hill, the slope of the canyon, that are in charge. So maybe you need to take on these assholes, whoever they are, when you're strong enough. It sounds like the goblins are all scared of these people, and the kobolds are scared of them, so maybe you're not ready for that. But something to keep in mind. You know from your other investigations that those assholes are from the Shrine of Evil Chaos, or SOEC. They have devil horn hand symbol with SOEC with cool lettering underneath it. You've seen that in a couple places. So the SOEC for short, Shrine of Evil Chaos, let's call them Shriners. So these Shriners seem to be powerful, humanoids, elves, dwarves, etc., some halflings and all that. They seem to be using the machines to drive a Chaos Shard mining operation. Chaos Shards gotten out of the ground and sold on, processed and sold. Well, you know that Chaos Shards, again from all your other adventures, they cause all kinds of trouble. Chaos Shards in the hands of the Reds. The Reds are the proto-assholes. They're a very powerful, dominant, evil group backed by devils, and they get made more powerful by these Chaos Shards. Or the Chaos Shards end up getting in the hands of the Silver Visor Wearers. It's called them the Silvers for short. They get ripened with an emotion. They get stuck into this visor, blast them in the eyes. They get high as a kite, and they love all the emotion that they feel. But demons get ripped out of these voids that open up around them as they're tripping out. Demons fall out and start rampaging through the world, and that's bad. So either way, Chaos Shards are causing problems. So you want to stop the mining. I imagine many of you might just want to stop the mining of the Chaos Shards because you don't know what good they are for the world. You've only seen bad. So that might be your motivation as well. So maybe one clean way to reach a couple of these goals at once is to do the last thing you haven't figured out yet, which is what are the goblins up to? And that's what the theme of this session is. What are the goblins up to? The Reds are part of the problem, the Silvers are part of the problem, but the goblins are doing the raids, and you figure, let's figure that out. Maybe what you want to do is spy on the goblins, try and figure out what they're up to that way by observing them. Maybe you want to see what they're capable of. You feel more fit than ever. A lot of you just become level 3 and you've gotten some items and you feel like I'm ready to fight the goblins, right? And the problem is there's so many of them. Maybe you can find like a small group and figure out what they're like in battle and know what you're up against. You're adventurers. That fighting teaches you things. Maybe stop a village raid, but you don't want to go for days and days, to do that. You want to stay around here. So that's sort of a vague goal, but maybe spying on them and testing them in a survivable battle is another thing that you would like to do. You might figure out why they're motivated to raid these villages and how they go about doing it. And that is the story so far. We've got a few minutes left now. This is a good opportunity for each of you to fill in with each other. You can even ask me for a little more detail. I won't reveal new details, but might confirm things that you are not sure are true or not. Or
are the goblins necessarily evil? Would there be a way of infiltrating their operations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So goblins, it's very rare now in D&D to say like some sort of species is irredeemably evil, because you can have player characters that are goblins, just like you have player characters that are kobolds. Now you can say they have a long history. Throughout history, they've tended to be associated with different kinds of associations and motivations that do evil things. So individuals can be evil, but you say all goblins are evil. You can say that about devils and demons or the undead. They're irredeemably evil. I mean, you might be a revenant or something like that, which is a kind of undead, which isn't necessarily evil, but you're literally powered by planar energy from the plane of chaotic evil or lawful evil. So you devils are never going to be good. They might do good things for you, but they're after something else. Goblins in this part of the world, they've only shown up about 100 years ago, and they basically came up from underground in this area. They kind of showed up in the Caves of Chaos, and they didn't really move in from anywhere. They kind of came up from somewhere. They just showed up in the Caves of Chaos about 100 years ago. And since then, they've just been absolutely rapacious. They just spread. They think of nothing but just populating more of themselves, getting more goblins and getting stronger and turning into hobgoblins and bugbears, which are more powerful versions of the same thing, and just eating and consuming and burning and forging and all that stuff. They are just taking over the land. You can see, around here, that's a problem. So the goblins that you know about in the Caves of Chaos, well, every goblin you've heard about has been doing evil things, and that they have no problem killing, stealing, taking away freedom, torturing people to find out where they're keeping their stuff. So all of the stories that you've heard about goblins are evil. That doesn't mean that they're inherently evil like a devil. You could probably find a goblin and you can somehow convince it. You just know that right now, tying into the main story, they're heavily motivated to do this thing. They're killing these people and getting this stuff because they don't really have a lot of goblins telling them that it's wrong to do, and they have a motivation to do it. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay. Anything else with the story? Well, we'll start in just a few minutes, but anything else you want to share with each other? I mentioned some things, or things in your notes that you want to make sure that you want to keep in mind, or anything else? That was a good question. It spurred a bit more discussion.
I was thinking, because last time we learned about the orrery, which if the kobolds figure it out, could lead them to another mine.
Very good. Yes. Good. You remember that?
That they could start controlling and getting woodcutter shots.
Yes.
So, I guess Archie's kind of concerned about just walking away from the kobolds and leaving them with this artifact that is unlikely to lead. That they don't know how to use, but it kind of like just doesn't feel like leaving it there to be exploited.
Right.
Is
what we can do, we can pack it up and leave it in Job's cave.
Yeah, you have a few options. Yeah, so I can give you a few options, but you probably think of them. Yeah, they were watching carefully, but as a party, I knew that it was going to be an interesting moral decision for you to let them in on the possible location of a new shard mine. So I granted that you kind of kept them at a distance. So even though they probably learned something about the orrery by watching you operate it, you don't think that they'll figure out the final secret unless you decide to share it with them. Because that's so important to the story that maybe you want to, maybe you're motivated to, and you can make a lot of money. And I'm sure Dak and the kobolds will tell you how much money you can make if you can get new shards. Because the kobolds right now they're kind of stuck in the middle of a vendor chain. They don't really personally make a lot of money. They don't have control of the mine. If the kobolds controlled the mine, they have a vertical market, as Dak likes to call it. And then they and you would make a lot of money. So that's a decision that you might make as a party at some point. And we can have these discussions also beforehand or at the pub or whatever else.
I don't see the kobolds as inherently bad. They're just trying to appease their god.
Well, you can. Okay,
that's all they're trying to do.
That's a very interesting discussion to have, and we might take a whole thing that expressly for that discussion. But to answer it quickly, if you want to make them unable to use the orrery, you can take essential parts out of it. It's made of a lot of moving parts. There's gears and cranks and things. And you do have enough of sway. You've really won the kobolds over quite handily. Well, you won the kobolds over and you haven't done anything against them. So they probably would forgive you for taking a part of the orrery because they understand that you know a lot more about the orrery than they do and that they can. So if you want to be extra sure, you can just, if the party agrees, it's basically a party asset. You can take a couple essential parts, like taking the spark plugs out of a car, and put them somewhere, keep them on your person. Is that something that you want to do?
I think that might be best because while they are, the kobolds probably the biggest trying to please their god, the people they're selling them to aren't. We don't know anything about them.
Right.
And
they
called
maybe
the
they could be
Shrine of
leveraged.
Evil Chaos.
So raise your hand if you want to disable the orrery. Okay. So this is your idea. Do you want Archie to be in charge of keeping the parts, or do you want to hide them in Job's cave?
If we're disabling the orrery, do we already know the direction that we would need to find the other?
You need to spend more time with it. So your first level investigation, you could, with more work, figure out where the mine is, but it's going to be very complicated. There's a lot of trigonometry. You have to actually survey the land, and sort of maybe it might be an iterative process. But you're definitely on the way, but you can't pinpoint the spot where to start digging.
Trigonometry.
Do we want to have that knowledge first before we destroy it?
Not destroy, just dismantle it in a reversible way.
Oh, okay.
You can always
So we
come
take a
back
couple of
after.
parts and then potentially at some point in the future we can come back and
For sure.
deal with it more.
So the only thing now is, do you want to actually hold on to the parts personally?
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Jogjo
Yeah, I
is
don't trust
a
Jogjo.
kobold. Like, Yeah, he likes us and everything, but he's still a cobalt.
Yeah, we take
She.
it with us.
Yeah, she, yeah.
Oh,
mhm.
is it she?
Mhm, Yeah,
she.
Chop Chop's a she.
And Chop
BB,
Chop's
BB's a he.
pretty
Oh,
high.
BB's a
most
they.
of the
That was
time,
the one that
it's
was like
like
the rifts
so.
through, like.
Dak Dak's a he.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Dak Dak's a he. Okay. Can't be used. All right, so just please write that down in your inventory. If it, for whatever reason it's advantages from your character sheet, it means you've lost those parts and you have to somehow reconstruct them.
Better not.
Then they can't use it.
Off the planet.
Don't
The
fall
black
into
and
lava. Okay.
That's the only reason I wouldn't fall into lava. Damage like that.
All right, it is top of the hour. So should I just welcome everybody, Liam? Or top of the hour? Okay, so hello everyone in Streamland. This is Courage and Chaos, which is Dungeons & Dragons for absolute beginners. This is episode 8, but everybody around this table is totally new to D&D, just 8 sessions ago. We have 3-hour sessions. I am a teacher. I love teaching new players, and so I layer things on a bit at a time, and all you players have been doing a great job picking things up. As you can see, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. You're now getting to level 2 or level 3, so you've been developing your characters more, and you've been learning more about the world. The world has a lot of different secrets. It's basically a sandbox that you sort of uncover new things, and they're all interconnected with each other. So you're deepening in a few different ways, and this session will continue that. I also want to mention Shoot for Initiative. If you haven't seen it, or anybody out there in Streamland, it's a really interesting combination. It's a great D&D game, but with a fun cast and sort of a game show aspect, which is fun, sort of physical challenges. That's on Twitch, which is where it's streaming right now. And of course, you can watch these things, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube, in which case, just, go to Twitch and look for Shoot for Initiative. Definitely worth checking out. It's fun stuff. I believe that is all of my businessy announcements, but I'm going to make another quick announcement. Oh, May and Derrican. So last time we just did a big investigation session. Last session, you could watch the video for that. And you discovered some secrets. I misapplied a rule because while you were sort of looking up, I think you were investigating Havilar herself, you rolled more than 10 over. And when you do that, you're supposed to get a benefit. So not only did you get the benefit because the gold bracelet you found is expensive, you also know something about it, a secret that is very hard to know. You happen to know who got the higher of the two
Oh, it
rolls.
was him.
Yeah.
I think
so-
you got 16 and I got 19, something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah. So you both have some idea, but the 19 really clinches it. This bracelet that she's wearing is a secret sign, like it's designed to signal other people in fantasy society that she worships Leviatar, a deity of pain.
Oh.
It is a barbed cat of 9-tailed whip. That golden bracelet. She's from Dimgate, as you recall.
Mm-hmm.
And you happen to know that in Dimgate, but another place, but Dimgate in particular, yes, like, Leviatar is a cult, and it's basically you show your worship by inflicting pain, by suffering pain yourself. This is a deity who loves, who demands pain, wants more pain in the world.
So it is
So-
a bracelet that symbols worship of Leviathan.
Yes,
Is that
that's
right?
right.
That's everything?
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that means that
That's
she either she is or she wanted to look like she was a worshiper of Leviatar, obviously an evil deity. Loviatar.
Oh, I got it.
I-A-T-A-R.
Yeah, Loviatar. I can't go into too much depth. We can investigate that more. But of course, everything you discover gives you another sort of +1 on your later rolls. So these things sort of snowball. So I wanted to share that. That was my announcement. Okay. So I'm going to set the scene for you briefly. This is, you just finished with your investigations. So you're basically probably hanging out by default in the Kobold machine shop. That's where a lot of the action is, but you've been freely moving around the area. Your investigation's done. You're ready to do what you set yourself out last time. As I said at the top of the story so far, you want to figure out what the goblins are up to. It's sort of like the third leg of the stool that's holding up this Shrine of Evil Chaos operation. So here in the machine shop, let's kind of zoom in on each of you to introduce you to each other. And remember, just a one-sentence thing that makes you maybe you look different or feel differently than before, remembering having just done the investigations or the prospect of getting outside for once. Myrrh, the Unthinkable, he is a high elf wizard. Are you level 3 now?
Yes, level
Okay,
3.
fantastic.
And he's itching for a fight to show off his new spell.
All right, yeah, so Myrrh's looking for trouble.
Good spell.
New spell.
All right. Gawain, he is a human fighter level 2 or 3?
2.
Level 2. What do we notice about Gawain that might be different than the usual?
Yeah, he's good to fight as well, but probably lacks a bit of direction. Still trying to work out where his motivation is, because initially he was just trying to more escape, but he's kind of happy to cruise with the,
Yes. So sort of things coming into focus, maybe a higher purpose. That's what these investigations can lead you to, a higher purpose.
Yeah, he's trying to work that direction at the moment.
Okay, all right. We also have Gale. He is a half-elf druid, level 3 now. All right, half-elf druid, level 3. What do we notice about Gale for the first time?
So with the knowledge that we're about to go outside, you've seen Gale hanging around the mouth of the cave a little bit more, really itching to get everyone outside.
Yeah.
To keep himself occupied and not just walk out. He's tied his mistletoe, which if you've been looking at him cast spells, is how he casts spells, mistletoe leaf.
Yeah.
He's tied that with a little bit of leather strapping to his staff.
Okay, all right, that's a nice touch. Thank you for that. All right, we also have Adele. She is a high sun elf wizard, level 3 as well, I believe. All right, so what do we notice about Dell for the first time?
Dell has, in the recent emotional kind of memories and connections that have been being made, she's kind of opening up a little bit more to, she's definitely paying a lot more attention to Gale, like trying to work out where she's seen him before. She hasn't quite pieced that together yet.
Yeah, that vision that he appeared.
But also still kind of steering clear a little bit of Tulip.
That's good. Okay, keeps things interesting. Gives you some place to go.
We kind of crossed paths in the past, and I kind of made a bit of a friendship with one of his female companions, but not quite sure about him and how he must be feeling now that his companions are no longer here anymore. I'm kind of, Dell doesn't really know what it's like to have friends, so kind of processing that.
Great, I like that very much. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. We also have Archie. He is a human fighter, level 3 or level 2?
That's right.
Level 3. All right, just got. And what do we notice about Archie for the first time?
So, two things. One, Archie's taken off the Chaos Shard that he was wearing.
Oh, okay.
Put it away.
Okay, so no longer ripening that emotion. All right.
And from the, fighting experience he's had over the last day or so, he's learned a few new tricks now that he's level 3, some new manoeuvres and so on. So he's feeling itching to kind of give those a go.
All right. Let's see if we get a
for
chance.
fights,
Goblin, yes, right. Goblins will hopefully satisfy that urge. We have Derrican. He is a halfling rogue, level 2 or 3?
3.
Level 3, congratulations. So Derrican, he is a halfling rogue 3. What do we know about Derrican for the first time?
He's definitely more connected with the group. He feels very obligated to help everyone. He's actually had like a recent sort of sensation where instead of going into more his rogue archetype, he feels very obligated to help people. It's kind of something that he's just felt the feeling, like the desire towards, like, or like some sort of command that he's got.
Okay.
He's very eager to get outside, so the whole thing with discovering like people like Havilah and like thinking that maybe if they wait for the goblins, more people will get captured and become like her. He doesn't exactly know that will happen, so he's keen to get out there and
very true.
Yeah,
Havilar's been messed up by this entire shard mining operation. She's just another cog in this operation, another victim of what's happened.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, that's a good motivation for Derrican.
Yeah.
All right.
He's made a new connection though. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Possibly with I think it's Meridia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Nice. We also have May. She is a human fighter, level 3.
Yes.
All right. What do we notice about May for the first time?
Bring it up, sorry.
That's all right.
So, I've got two things as well. So, like Archie, she, thanks to her, past, her battle experience in this journey so far, and her family's background as historians, she's kind of went, that kind of connects to, I think she figured out some new tricks that way.
Okay. She's realized some good skills.
And another thing is that when she was back in Full Crest, she never really had a very tight-knit, close friends in group. She was kind of a loner. So she was very rigid to her moral structure. But now that she's part of a group, and she's like, they're not too horrible. She's felt her morals slipping a little. So before, where she was lawful good, she's now chaotic good.
Oh, I see. Okay, good. Congratulations on your change.
Congratulations.
Coming out party or something,
Oh, great.
Changed.
All right.
Corruptions.
Starting to try. I'm still good though. I'm still good.
We
you
also
guys, so.
great. I like that very much. We also have Tulip. He is a hill dwarf cleric, level 3 or level 2?
Level 2.
Level 2 skill. But coming up close on 3. What do we know about Tulip?
Well, being a worshipper of a nature goddess, he's very excited to go outside. He's learning to behave himself a little, though he still took like a mermaid statuette from the last route.
Yeah.
Not as naked. She was covered a bit.
That's right. Wait until you see the paintings that he also found. That's also great. That's some good stuff. But we'll cover this later.
But yeah, he's just so happy to go outside.
Great.
He's twirling the vines that are wrapped around him.
So the two of you are sort of standing near the end. Just, come on, guys, let's go. All right, that's Tulip. All right. Did I miss anybody? My list was complete, I think. Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. All right. Okay, so if we can, let's see, the next slide, please. All right. So you're motivated. We'll talk about your motivation and how do you follow that motivation to get outside. So you want to find out how to learn about the goblins. Dak Dak actually is a good resource here. You know, Dak Dak seems to have traveled around. You know, he's from very far away, and so you know, I imagine that at some point you might mention Dak Dak, like, what do you know about the goblins? Where they're going? How are they getting there? You know, you don't really know the connection, like what path they take from here to there. Like maybe there's a place to ambush them or whatever else. You learn from Dak Dak, like, you know, don't ambush goblins in forest. Very dangerous. Goblins in forest, bad combination. No, you need to spy on goblin. You go to goblin camp. They're a goblin camp up to north. You fight goblin here, all goblin attack you. Also, Shriners attack you. Assholes attack you. Gnolls attack you. You want to fight goblin, you try to find a weak goblin tribe, so they don't all help each other, separated from others, yeah? And make sure that you can see them. They can't hide. Fight them during daytime. Very important. That makes sense. So he knows that the Goblin Raiders base themselves at a camp in the north by the river, and it's much safer to spy on them there. It's not very far away. It's not as far away as the towns. It's farther south, and better than being in the canyon. Long story short. So. I'm going to give you a friendly warning as a DM. I give you the following directions just when you're talking to the NPC. Now, nobody's required to make a map or write things down, but in case somebody's making a map, you'll help assure that, and you're not allowed to take a picture of anything that I draw. So you might want to make your own sort of notes as I do this, because Dak Dak is going to tell you the landmarks of how to get there. But if later on you say, like, hey, what did Dak Dak say about that? I'm not going to answer you because Dak Dak's not there. Hopefully you'll some of you will have some of those notes. That's just a friendly DM reminder, because it's really a great story when people get lost. I find that's the best part. I also find this really great when I go to the pub and people pull out a map. I say, like, that map is wrong. It's okay. It's just great. They're usually not very wrong. Okay, it sort of reminds me of all those old world, here there be dragons kind of maps that you have. All right. So, with that warning, here's what he describes. So, first of all, I'll refer to this map over here in a couple different places. Where you are is, this is sort of like a zoomed in area here. So this is a big trench that goes exactly east-west and then narrows to a triangular point, and there's a crack in the earth, a gigantic crack. This is like looking from the top. So you're in the Kobold Caves, which are to the north side of this. So the Kobold Caves, poke out in the north side, and you can go in here, and this is maybe 100 feet across. And across here, where the goblins are coming in and out of. This trench, this canyon, has sloping 45-degree slides, and the sides goes to the east. I'm going to keep this sketchy because you could always use an investigation move later on to know the details of this geography. So I'm just going to mention things, but if you want more detail, you have to basically spend for it later on. So that's the zoomed in look. I'll refer to that later. So now here it is zoomed out. So each of these squares, these aren't exact, but imagine each of these squares here is about 3 miles. It takes about an hour to walk at a normal pace. So if you start here at the end of this trench, it goes straight east, and if you follow it to the east, to stay down there, so there's a lot of cover amongst the boulders, you eventually reach the sea. This is the ocean. Once you reach the ocean, Dak Dak says you go north following the coastline. He says, when you see the ocean, do not go south. No, south that. South is where Black Dragon is. Do not mess with Black Dragon. Black Dragon, very important to kobolds, very important to Dak Dak. very important for steel deals. And besides, it burn you. Black dragons use acid, you die. You'll definitely die. Do not go south. I want you to live. I am your business partners. Hey, we do big steel deals and stuff, yeah? I do not want you to die. Do not mess with Black Dragon. So he seemed very serious about that. Don't go south, go north. As you go to the north, you're, sand and little hills and things, headlands. You'll eventually get to a river. This shore continues. So it's not quite this even. The ocean's over here. Eventually, this blue line is a river. It's not quite so boxy, but I drew it boxy just to make it easy to note. This river flows from the north, takes a bend, and then flows to the east into the sea. You hit that riverbank, you don't go across the river, you just basically now take a left, you start heading west, inland, following the riverbank. So you'll be on the riverbank. It's a cliff top. There's a cliff top.
So from the
Does he say how
You
far?
follow the bank of the river west.
Does he say how far from the bottom of
I said, my legs are small. You have longer legs. So I only know time, how much food I eat as I travel. So for me, it would be 5 snacks. For you, it might be 3 snacks. I cannot tell. So he doesn't seem to be very good at distances.
By 5 snacks, does he need 5 days?
Maybe he's not sure. I'm hungry. It depends on how hungry I am. So you follow the bank of the river west and look for the goblin camp. But you get the impression that it would take a few hours to get to the sea, and maybe so it means a few hours to get inland. And I'll just put a dot here. This is not exact. So south of the river, you'll see signs. If you follow the river bank, if you're along the south bank of the river, you'll see signs of the goblin camp. Can't miss it, he says. Lots of smoke. Lots of goblins around. You sneak up, you can see what's going on.
So the goblin camp's on the riverbank there.
Yep, it's right near the riverbank.
Is it that X there?
It's this dot that I put there.
Is that dot?
It's a good thing, no way to get lost. Yeah, top down would be great. Good thing, no way to get lost. Easy landmarks. Ocean, follow the river. Easy. Do not go into forest. Forest, you get lost. Forest, goblins stab you.
Is there a forest around the river? Or where's the...
Forest all around. So forest,
okay. Forest
north?
everywhere.
No, north forest. So this X is where you're kidnapped from, by the way. So again, this being north, you started Fallcrest, you went over the mountains, you went down through this ice cliff, and you got kidnapped about there. That road was going to continue and cross the river. Where that little slash is the bridge. And then if you went north, those squares are riverside towns. So once you got kidnapped, you got brought by the kobolds down here to the Caves of Chaos. This is all forest in between.
They took us a long way.
They took you a long way. Remember, you marched all night to get there.
Oh, yes. All night.
Okay. That safest way. Stay out of forest. Stay away from where goblins can sneak up on you. All right. Now, it's time to follow these directions. So again, I'll keep this kind of fast and sketchy. You can investigate more later on. So you follow Backpack's direction. You're finally outside! I want you to imagine, after being in all these caves and dungeons and everything, you breathe, you've had a long rest and maybe some investigation and all that stuff. So let's just call it like, early, mid-morning, still before noon. Of course, you can't go out like, you sneak out. There's lots of bushes around. So everywhere you go in this canyon, I'll go to the zoomed-in version of the map here. So you come out of here into the bottom of this canyon with the sloping sides. But there's bushes and trees everywhere, and you do want to stay out of sight. There's sounds of monsters in every direction, let's just say. You, moving from bush to bush, trying to not draw attention to yourselves, start moving east, which is what Dak said. You'll be going to the sea that way. But something happens. You haven't been, I know, what a surprise. You reach the sea and you win! No. You're not moving for very long when something catches your eye. Figures suddenly come into view along the north edge of the canyon here. Sort of in a line and spaced out in sort of an organized fashion, these figures, humanoid figures, they're looking down and they draw bows. Quite a few of them. You recognize them as gnolls, dog-headed humanoids. Well, you fought a few of them. Now a lot more of them are showing up, but they're at the edge and they just stop. And they're surveilling the entire canyon. They have armor and bows. Nearby, there are goblins who maybe were just outside digging around or whatever else, and you hear the goblins say, "Oh shit! It's a sweep! It's a sweep!" So, and they say, "Elimination night must be coming." Elimination night must be coming, say the goblins. They start moving out of the bushes, and they seem to expect what happens next. You look across the way to the south. If I'm in the holodeck and that way is north, and you're just kind of looking up at an angle from, you're in the middle of the canyon. The kobold cave is that way a ways. You look up that way. Out of that cave where people pointed to say those assholes Well, a lot of those assholes start coming out. They so they swarm out, and they come out generally in equal numbers. A lot of them remind you of Reds. They are wearing, but they're wearing kind of piecemeal armor. They definitely look dangerous, so I'm not going to denigrate them too much. But their armor is sometimes a little bit piecemeal, but there's a lot of red and black, a lot of spikes. Some of them have a hole in their armor, and you can see even at this distance there's a scar in the middle of their chest, and they're all male. They're all he's. So you think Reds. They gotta be either Reds or they're sort of Red wannabes, maybe Red Guard. They're more dangerous looking than Red Brands. So anyway, that's one type. The other type are dressed in all kinds of amazing ways. A lot of it looks like almost like theatrical costumes or high fashion or just crazy like Harajuku, just crazy fashion. A number of them have burned rectangles over their eyes, and they have silver visors around their necks, so these must be the silvers. They're more she's and they's than he's, but there's a mix. Whereas the Reds are quite strong on the human and dwarf and half-orc. These silvers are every possible race, every possible color. Very huge variety, and they are stoned. I mean, where they're looking like they just look loopy, right? Some of them look like they're just coming off of whatever high they're on. Some of them look really cranky, but they have they are numerous, powerful, and organized. They start coming out of these caves here.
At ground level or?
High up, so yeah, they're about halfway up. It's about maybe 20, 30 feet up the slope. So that's where their cave is. They have a lot of insignia and jewelry, and you notice even from this distance, because you're at a fairly safe distance, closing fast. SOEC, like some of them have like the huge, like an SOEC sort of in gold, like swinging from a chain, like some of the silvers have that way. Some of the Reds have a huge tattoo, like an SOEC tattoo, and also or their shield, if they have a breastplate, has an insignia that shows the hand and the SOEC, that symbol. So I'm going to call them Shriners for obvious reasons. They are from the Shrine of Evil Chaos. So this is all happening in a few seconds, by the way. Wait, okay, Noel's up there. Oh my God, now the Shriners are all coming out. More Shriners appear in all other directions, all around the canyon, around the south edge and closing off the end of the canyon. They come very suddenly because a number of them, almost a lot of them, they come up out of cracks in the rock. Like they come out of the cracks in the wall. And when they come out, they're like paper dolls. They're very thin and crooked. I don't know if that reminds you of anything. As they slip themselves out, they sort of, you can see they're basically two-dimensional. They're holding hands in pairs, and it's always a red one and a silver one are holding hands with each other when they pop out of these cracks, thin like this, and then they quickly separate from each other. When they turn normal and solid looking, the Reds start getting out their bows, and the silver ones, they just, they just start like twiddling their burned fingers, and they have burned fingers like chop chop. They quickly fill in all the gaps, so you're hemmed in by Shriners and gnolls on either side, right? So no matter what direction you go, it seems like there's a dragnet, and like the goblin said, there's a sweep. Well, they start to sweep. The ones that are on this end of the canyon, off to the east, they all, in that line, like a police dragnet, start moving through the bushes, and they're bushwhacking, essentially. They're searching every bush. You hear the sounds of fighting, or the sounds of whips cracking, and goblins, sort of running and fleeing from them, and it's tightening the area that you're in. You're amongst these bushes, but you now realize that this is shrinking around you. You are hemmed in. As they find goblins, a lot of goblins start corralling into the cave that the goblins go in and out of. It seems like all the goblins are expected to stay away from the dragnet and shoo back into your cave. And again, they're saying elimination night must be coming. Maybe it's tonight, maybe it's tomorrow. All right, goblins are terrified of them, so they must be quite powerful.
There's two questions.
Well, briefly.
So, are there any goblins nearby that we can go, hey, what's going on, they're running away?
Yeah, I mean, they are, and if you do stop one, it's like, it's elimination night, like, wait, what are you doing here? So, with some of them, goblins still are considered your enemies, but they say that's like, you're the ones with the kobolds, they're looking for you too. And that goblin actually waves like, look, over here! One of the goblins starts jumping up and down. I'm not punishing you for asking. This is part of the story that I had going anyway. The Shriners do spot you from a distance because you haven't all hidden perfectly well, and say, that's them! And they've apparently heard of you, and they keep their line, but they start focusing on you. You seem to be one of their targets. Now, you're obviously outmatched. You know, your adventurer sense says like, this is not a fight that we can take on unless you are a real like balls out mayhem group, which is something I'll be discussing, an option that you have. The sane course is to run. Now, you don't know where to run to because they seem to be in every direction, but at least stay away from the closest ones. So the question, this is generally a group vote, is do you do that or do you stand and say no? We're going to fight, right away. I'm just warning you that fighting anyway is a very hard battle, and maybe it's a great way to get captured. If you want to get captured, maybe that would be your objective. But that would be the sign of a party that's much more like balls out, mayhem. Let's fight. Let's just have a heavy combat experience. This is something that I don't sense is what this group is necessarily about. You like combat and clever stuff. This would not be clever. This would just be fighting right where you stand. However, some of you say like, oh, I want to fight, but this would be a bit of an off-ramp for this group. If you live to run away, you may live to fight another day. What do you want to do?
Can we climb the walls?
Yeah, the dragnet. So the knolls are at the top of one set of the walls, covered with covering it with bows, and you have a feeling like you're going to get shot. If you go up there, you even see like a goblin try to take off and get shot. And then in the other directions, they're all basically just spaced apart so that the whole net is closing. It seems designed to kind of kettle you up in one place, so you won't be able to get to the walls.
Hide in the bush leaves up there?
There are a few, yeah. So you can sort of hide from place to place. There are some trees that you might be able to climb, but you see as they get closer, they're actually stopping at trees, and they're like looking up into the trees, and sometimes they're climbing up, or like, they fire a bow up in trees, see a goblin fall down. So you think they've thought of that trick.
So our only way seems to be back the way we came.
Well, yeah, this is designed to scoop you up. Like, eventually this net is going to tighten on you, but your first goal is like, well, let's just try to get away from them and figure out if there's any way out of this trap that you've gotten. But the main choice I want to drive you to is, do you stand and fight where you are, or do you try to run away and try to find an easier fight?
I'd be keen to battle, but I want to be a good battle that we can potentially prevail in.
I feel
this one's
like
a very hard battle.
I feel like if we wait, they'll close in on us. There'll be more of them.
I think
I think if we
they used to be in communication, so if a fight starts, you think that all of them will probably know that you're there, and within a round or two, you'll probably have a bunch of them.
Yeah, he hasn't exactly said how many numbers, and after listening to a few like D&D campaigns, I realized that sometimes you go and attack things and you realize they have like 100+ hit points. And
Right,
so
yeah. I'm just generalizing that without getting into stats. Like, your
Yeah.
adventurer sense is like, this would be a very hard fight to win, especially if they all gang up on you. Maybe you'll be able to take on a few of them, but by the time you're done with them, all the others will become rushing in on you.
We know that
So that we've got some time to actually decide, because we're trying to decide while keeping away from them a little bit, I'd like to cast Pass Without a Trace.
Okay, all right, sure.
Which gives us a...
Yeah, I was going to ask for a couple actions pretty soon. That could be one of the first ones that gets us into the spirit. Okay, then let me continue with that spirit.
So we get a +10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks.
Right, so anytime you roll stealth, you have a +10. This would be one of the courses of wisdom, is to just stay hidden and stay away from the Shriners. Just look for a way out. Maybe there's a hole in the net somewhere. Is that what the group wants to do, or do you want to just...
Yeah,
I'd be under that.
I'm happy to roll for investigation check if I can.
This is too quick, and I'm trying to get a quick vote.
Yeah.
Or we were after the goblins anyway. If we go follow them and get caught by them, maybe we can investigate while within.
You
if
think
they're
it'd be
interested in.
Yeah, if you get caught, you think it'd be maybe brought, and you don't know what the Shriners are going to do with you. You wouldn't be being caught by the goblins, being caught by the Shriners.
Oh, okay. So we can't
It's
do-
mostly the Shriners as we gathering.
I've just gotten out of prison. I don't want to really...
No, definitely. I
Wait.
definitely
I'm
don't
having
know.
the-
Yeah.
Okay,
Following
so-
that idea, can we follow the goblins into their cave or wherever they're coming?
No, he's just asking if we.
There's,
fight
but there's
in
Shriners
cage.
near, like, you'd have to cross through the Shriners in order
So
to
we
do
need
that.
to
They're looking
decide
for
whether we
you.
fight or we try and hide.
Yeah, I think, try to find a way out.
I say hide to try and find a way
Yeah,
out.
so raise your hand if you want to sort of hide for now. That's what I thought. Okay, so, well, that's a majority.
Yeah,
majority.
it's a
I'm gonna
majority.
rock and
Okay.
bury myself in the dirt and surround.
As you run, the Shriners who saw you, they taunt like, "You can't run forever! We're going to catch you!" And they say, Ziggy says that you will work for him or die. Ziggy says, you're going to work for him or die, adventurers, they call tauntingly. So now you know a name is Ziggy. Seems to be some sort of boss of theirs. But you say, fuck that, and you run away. And now we get into one of a series of skill challenges. That's one of the main things I'm going to be teaching this session that hopefully you'll be interested in. So skill challenges are standard part of D&D. They are a group activity, and you succeed or fail as a group. You do most things as a group, but this really tightens you as a group. So in a skill challenge, you will all succeed or fail as a group as you try to perform a particular skill. So this time there is a skill you must use, and some of you are going to be good and some of you won't. Enough of you will need to roll high enough on your skill check, enough around the table, so that you succeed as a group. Otherwise, the whole group is at risk of damage of some sort of negative consequence. It's sort of like quick combat. You can be creative with how you use these skills, or if you decide to use a spell, sometimes a spell can give you advantage. So like quick combat, you can be creative, and you can add a bit extra to your roll. And we'll get into that later. This first one is very simple, so we'll layer on some complexity as we go. Right now, the situation that you're facing is you need to stay out of sight of the Shriners, so they don't attack you. You're trying to find a hole in this net that's closing around you, but definitely don't want to be seen because you know they want to shoot and blast you. The skill that you need to use is stealth. Ah, fantastic. This should be an easy one for you. Now, if you super succeed, you can actually end up with a little bit of wealth or other benefits. So it's great if you totally nail this one. So, how do you find your stealth? Remember, it's your dexterity bonus. If you're proficient, you've got a black dot next to it on your skill list. That means you're adding a proficiency bonus, so it'll be your dex bonus plus 2, which is a proficiency bonus. That's why the math works out the way that it is. Otherwise, it's just your dexterity bonus. Anybody having trouble finding your stealth? So you know if you roll stealth, what you'd be adding?
I'm at a disadvantage. Can I just take my armor
Plus
off?
10.
Unfortunately, it takes a couple minutes. Yeah, so...
Plus
Stealth,
3,
so
so
I
it's
get
shiny.
plus 15.
Like really polished?
Yep, that's right. So
Yeah.
just based on your dexterity, you're fine.
Yeah,
Yep, yeah, so just use the plus 3.
stealth rolls
Oh,
because
wow.
of the chainmail.
So we just
Yeah, disadvantage. Now remember, if you have, so disadvantage, you roll 2 dice. So I will go around to each of you, and we'll start randomly on one side or the other and go clockwise or counterclockwise. So enough of you have to pass this or you all risk damage. The number needs to pass, obviously, is 8. Well, 8, because we don't have Archie, let's call it, let's call it 8 because this is
I'll
going to
roll
round
the
up.
passer.
It's going to call it 4, exactly.
I
You
got
gotta
plus
put it together.
15 already.
Wow!
I've got plus 13 already.
15 is the DC you need to pass. And then
Plus
advance this.
10 if you say
Okay,
15.
fantastic.
I've got plus
And of
13.
course, yeah, that spell's very powerful. You cross it off. We'll go around the table, and I'm going to randomly decide clockwise or counterclockwise. Odd, I start over there. Odd, so I start with you. So I'll start here, and we'll go clockwise around the table, and I'll ask each of you. So let's just do this as a quick one. Roll stealth.
Oh, nat 20.
Woo! All right. Now, the great thing about this, nat 20s are very
33.
special. Nat 20, first of all, and it's not an automatic success for the skill check, but I'll have this house rule where you have a permanent advantage on hiding in bushes because you're amongst the bushes. So specifically, anytime for the rest of your life, when you roll hiding in stealth in bushes, you have a permanent advantage.
That's not a
For some
sus
reason, I
skill,
can't see my head on that.
You can get a permanent disadvantage by rolling a 1. So think of a story. So this is a great way to fill in. Like, skill challenge is great for this. So what's a story like? Why May's obviously done this all her life. Why is she great at it?
She got very used to hiding from the full crested guard, and that she sometimes had to dive.
Okay,
into
great.
the
Yeah,
dust.
that's right. Yeah, so that there's various parks and things in Fall Crested. You were definitely doing naughty things in the park. Awesome. That's great. That's 1 success. You do a stealth roll.
Oh, so what did you say it was? 10?
10
so
plus your stealth.
14.
14. 14 is not enough. Strangely enough, you didn't roll a 1, did you? But you rolled
No,
a
it's
2. Okay, so that's not a pass. You do a stealth roll.
Oh, yikes.
27.
27, fantastic. It's another victory. Now, as you're doing this as a group, remember, or imagine you're helping each other out. You're not all scattering like rats from each other. Like you're kind of giving each other tips, and ones who are not doing so well, you're sort of hanging back to help cover them. So that's sort of the simulation we're doing. Yep.
So that is. Can you
33.
do that? Right? Yeah, it's just 27.
Pass that
33.
Pass that traces off the hook. Okay, that's
We're adding
3.
up as we go.
3 successes.
You
Yeah.
add 10 and your stealth bonus.
Yeah, because the spell that he cast. Does it affect that many people?
Anybody within 30 feet of
Whew!
Now, what did you
So
get?
everybody.
14?
Yeah.
14.
13.
Because I'm a negative 1 for my
Did you
Thank you
add
for
the
rolling.
10?
Thank you for rolling for
Did you add the
disadvantage.
10?
my 10 is pass without trace spell.
Oh,
so you
Everybody
got
gets
23.
it.
Everybody gets it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great.
23?
Yeah, 23.
23, thanks to pass out trace. Yeah, you would have been cooked
That's
if it
not a
weren't for that.
D20.
Oh, that's not a D20, that's a D12. There's your D20 there.
Oh, okay.
They're easy to mix up. So we've got 4 victories so
So
far.
I've got 18.
So you got 20.
31.
Fantastic. Fine. Now, if you get more than the target 4, there's an extra benefit. So there's still a good reason to roll high. You've got this nailed. The
13,
13.
16, 26.
Thank you, pass out trace. You got 6 out of the necessary 7. That is fantastic. So as a result, as you go, a lot of the goblins, as they flee, they are dropping coins. You know, like they stumble. There's some dead goblins that you are so confident in your stealth that you actually stop, you know, to loot some things. So I'm going to give you a little benefit from overkilling it. Good job. All right. I'm going to take this and multiply it by. Yeah. So you each get 18 silver pieces.
Oh, wow, that's
Quite a lot. As you loot, when you split up, you get 18 silver pieces each. That's your share for doing so well. Fantastic. Yeah, so you help each other stay out of sight. Good job on the spell. Good rolls in general. A lot of you would have succeeded even without the spell. Good teamwork. Now, these skill challenges, you know, sometimes some minutes pass between them, but you'll never have time for a short rest, by the way. You might be able to cast a spell, so if you do want to cast a spell or you know, eat a good berry or something like that, you know, just go ahead and volunteer that when I take a little pause like this. All right, so we'll turn to the next chapter, but that's a skill challenge. We're going to keep it, and we'll do a bunch of these in different ways.
So they didn't find us then. The sweep.
They did not find you.
Got
Yes.
through. Wow.
Well, you've evaded, but what do you do with the few minutes that you pass? Because you're not outside the net, you just haven't been found yet. So what happens next? Now you have a moment to think. These Shriners themselves are obviously aligned with reds and silvers. And you know quite a bit from your previous adventures about reds and silvers. Well, this is an opportunity to be clever. There's probably a clever way to leverage that knowledge to get into the Shrine of Evil Chaos. Maybe disguise yourself in, or you know how to leverage these people, bribe them, threaten them. You might get one on their own. You might be able to figure out, like you know about these red mirrors and these silver visors. Surely your cleverness, you know, is a good way to go. So you don't have to solve this with brute force. You might be able to do the clever things. That's one option. This is the key decision, which again, I have a feeling I know what you're going to pick, but I want to make sure this is a good opportunity to discuss it. Are you a story-based party or a mayhem-based party? And I've had both, and they're both a lot of fun. I've had people in Caves of Chaos definitely be a mayhem party. Mayhem parties are very heavy on combat and just badonkadonk, taking huge chances, you know, getting set back, losing sometimes, but it's quite combat heavy, but it is a bit more superhero-like, a bit more comic book-like, and you go to different places in the world, you find allies and items and things like that, so that would be one opportunity. You are kind of making that choice now. They'll dictate the next few sessions. I think no matter what, taking out the Shrine of Evil Chaos, you know, is your main motivation. So that's something that I think we can all agree at. The Shrine of Evil Chaos is bad. So taking them out with brute force or cleverness, but take them out one way or the other. So, if anybody disagree? Anybody say, I think Shrine of Evil Chaos is okay? Anybody want to defend the Shrine of Evil Chaos or anything like that?
I thought we were going up to see the goblins.
Yes, I'm talking about your long term. So you're still thinking like, yeah, you definitely escape, you want to check out the goblins, but now that you've seen the Shriners come out, it's kind of focused you temporarily on what do you realize about the Shriners?
I realized the powers with them, not the goblins.
Yeah, the powers with them. Yeah, they are powerful enough to make the goblins do things. Yeah. So anybody else, you know, feel like, no, let's not declare that the SOEC, we want to take the town. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. So they're probably the one, you know, they're the ones organizing the goblins. The goblins are doing these raids. Okay, and of course they're doing this chaos shard mining. All right. So the story method is you're going to sneak into the SOEC or bluff or use diplomacy or some way to get in there. Once you're there, you'll find clever ways to get an edge to counter their overwhelming force. You know, you'll be the mouse amongst the elephant and figure out a way to take it down. And then you'll want to attack and disrupt the operation. That's just the story path. They'll have a variety of tactics besides combat, so sort of like you've done so far, be a mix of puzzling and role-playing and combat and all those things balanced. Combat's important. About half your effort will still be combat-based, but the rest will be all add-on stuff. You know, characters I control, investigating mysteries, you know, making a clever plan, all that stuff. That's the story path. The mayhem path is just get away from the Caves of Chaos for a while, defend the towns against the goblins, level up, get loot, find that dragon, find that other stuff. The rest of the campaign will have lots of combat in various situations, many of them outdoors. You'll get allies, you'll add power until you get strong enough to stop the goblins from good. And then you're just going to stop the goblins with good and stop the SOEC just with brute force. Just get powerful, get buffed, and just kill everything, right? So that's an option. That's more
I don't mind getting ripped.
I don't mind that either.
I want to get buff.
All right.
Small.
So, quick decision on that. Did people discuss with each other what story or mayhem?
So do we go after them now, or do we get?
This is
as you
more
said,
the next few.
Or we get ripped.
Yeah, the next several
Let's get
sessions.
ripped.
If
I
we
know.
go
This is sort of like the
back,
next several sessions. What's your main tactic?
where are they
mayhem or story?
inside? Are they inside the caves as well?
Yeah, they all
don't
came
wanna
out
go
of one of
back
those caves,
inside.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I
yet.
want to stay outside for a
So
while.
we are
Mhm.
outside, and we can choose to like go
Yeah.
straight onto the main mission, go back inside.
Yeah, yeah. And either way, you'll be going after the goblins, so you'll immediately be outside. No matter what you do, you're going to have to go after the goblins, and you'll be outside for that. I'm talking about, like, what's your long arc? What kind of
That-
party do you want to be? This is a bit like what we do in so-called Session Zero, where you discuss, like, what kind of game do you want to play? Do you want to have heavy, very much heavier on combat that we've done so far, or a balance of RP, puzzling, and combat that we have done so far?
I think we're, as the nature of the group is more puzzlers.
You got a balance, yeah.
Yeah.
You've certainly been enjoying that, from what I can tell from the feedback that I'm
Yeah.
getting. You're liking that pretty well.
I'm super keen to do some combat.
Yes.
But I
Okay.
don't
And
think
it'll be about
that
half
we're in a
combat,
good
yeah.
spot to do against
I
these.
don't- I
Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
I
Well, I'm
don't
talking about
think-
over the next few
yeah.
sessions, several sessions even, yeah.
I like the mix of.
You like the mix. Any other advocates one way or the other? Seems like we're leaning towards stay story-based, half combat, definitely, being outside, definitely.
Yeah.
But other than that, okay.
Just as long as we're staying outside.
Okay,
I think
all right.
that's-
Because you see, D&D gets more and more flexible as you go, and that's
Yeah.
one
I
of
don't
the
want to go
important
back
things.
into the
Yeah.
caves just yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same.
No,
Same.
no, yeah, I think
need
we
some
agree on
vitamin
that.
D.
Yeah.
I
All
quite
right.
like the puzzling, actually.
Good,
And I
okay.
don't think my character's smart enough to be too good
Okay.
at this stage.
So, as you said, regardless of that goal, you need to escape this suite by the Shriners, because you've escaped them for a little while, but your time is running out as they narrow. Now, you see a group of goblins that are without a hobgoblin boss. Most groups, they have a hobgoblin boss, often with a banner, like a big tall hobgoblin that he or she's leading these goblins. This is a smaller group than usual, still like 8 or 12 goblins, but and a couple of them are beefy, like that goblin torturer was, so they're a bit scary, but they don't have an even scarier hobgoblin boss with them. They are moving towards the west end of the canyon. Like, you actually see them from your bush, you see them leave a bush, and they're moving with purpose. Like, they're putting their head down and they're going in a beeline, like they know where they're going. And they're even talking amongst themselves. Who here understands Goblinoid?
Yo.
Okay, great. Yes, the wizards by default have that, so you can translate for everybody else. That they're saying, get to the cave, climb out. We're going to get to the cave and climb out. And so, what if we get burned? And say, we have to take that chance. That's all that you hear. But they're moving with purpose. Following them might be, they're talking about escaping. Maybe you should follow them in order to do so. And we can try something else, but that seems your most obvious thing. Does that sound good? Do it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Will we be
Okay.
following them stealthily, like they don't know
Yes.
where they are? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
you follow them at a
definitely.
distance. Hmm.
Yo, we're just gonna stay back
Yeah,
here.
they seem quite intent, but you probably don't want to get right on top of them, because maybe they'll turn around and lash at you, or they don't want you to find whatever secret they've obviously got. So you will remain stealthy and remain at a distance, but go their direction. Okay.
I'll do your stealth checks last.
An hour.
Okay, great. Fantastic.
Now,
It's like 100
that's
rounds,
The
something like that.
the net is tightening. You hear now the sounds of combat of the Shriners, getting closer from all directions, and the goblins protesting. But you reach a cave at the far west end of this canyon. So right at the end, this triangular sort of end, it looks like this as you look at it. So now this is like a side view. As you look at it, there's a cave that opens up. This is the base of the valley. There's a cave, good sort of they can walk into easily. But bisecting the cave, like this giant crack through the stone, a jagged crack that extends right into the ceiling of the cave, and it goes all the way up to the top. So as you look that way, it's just the crack just continues, and there's a lot of heat blur and fumes coming out of it, and so occasionally sparks coming out of it. And you've sort of noticed this before. There's like a gigantic volcanic activity crack at the end of this particular canyon. And inside this cave, you can even see a glow, like of lava, of fiery glow inside the cave that you're heading towards, but the goblins are heading straight towards that cave. It's not like you're walking the lava right away, but this is maybe why they talked about getting burned. You think that, well, maybe the Shriners won't bother going in, because the thing was basically unsurvivable to be in there, but the goblins go into that cave. You see them slip in, using their stealth, jumping from bush to bush, and in they go. And so, again, following them seems to be, if this is their way out, they must have a way to survive. They're just goblins. They're not fireproof. So you want to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, in you go. When you enter the cave, because you can enter, less than a minute later, but you gave some time, so you didn't get caught, and you're stealthing in because you don't want to stumble on the goblins. The goblins aren't there. Then you hear their voices above you, and you look up. Well, now you're inside this cave, and this crack is like a ravine. The two sides are anywhere from a few feet to several feet apart. And you can actually see daylight up there, right? So this crack does go all the way to the surface, and you see the feet and butts of the goblins climbing their way up this ravine. They've started climbing. It is hot in here, but they're climbing the crack, and this seems to be their way out. And they are shielded, right? They're a place where if the Shriners don't come into this cave, they and you will be very hard to see. Okay, so this may be a way out. And this cave is not as deadly hot as you expected because there's this constant soft flow of air kind of coming in from the main valley, sort of breathing in on you, cooling things off, keeping the heat and the fumes away. So, you know your only way out is to do what the goblins are doing, again, not letting them see you, start climbing. Like the goblins are, you're going to wait maybe a minute for the goblins to get ahead of you so they don't see you. And while you wait, you hear them talk. We have some people have goblins, so this is translated from the goblin. So the goblins themselves are talking amongst themselves, and there's a group of them, both males and females, both he's and she's and theys, and they're having a conversation sort of like the following. Yeah, elimination night is coming. Elimination night, we are going to get killed. We do not have enough machines. We have the least machines out of everybody. On elimination night, we are the ones that are going to get executed. We need to get the machines. We need to find a village, and we need to come back tonight before they check. If we did not bring back any machines for that raid we went on, because our hobgoblin was killed, one of them is sort of objecting. Our hobgoblin was killed, so that was not my fault, that was your fault. No, it was not my fault that the hobgoblin got killed. Well, we nearly died too. We barely made it back here. So, we will all get killed on elimination night if we don't get more machines than at least one other tribe of goblins. And they're bickering with each other. So they say they need to do another raid. And that's one of the reasons they're leaving. Well, say, how long are we going to keep doing this? How long are we going to keep working for Ziggy and then these assholes, civilized, these natives? Why are we paying attention to them? And they say, our time is coming, sister. Our time is coming when the natives do not belong here in this land. We are going to take over all of this, everything you see. We have arrived. Magubliet has said it is our manifest destiny to take over the entire land. Just wait. This is temporary. This is the goblins talking to each other.
Like who said Vesuvius said it's our destiny, though?
One of the goblins said that, yeah. Magubliet has ordained. We'll take everything they have and we'll take over. Again, you can do an investigation later on, say what the hell is that all about and who's in Magubliet? Well, let's keep it there. The goblins then talk about what to do about it, and you're still waiting for them to get further ahead as they're climbing. They say, we will raid Nilodel. Nilodel is an elven village. That's maybe some of you have heard of. They say, we're going to raid that elven village, Nilodel, and we will take some machines from them. So I know, they've already been raided. They have no machines. But it's been a couple months. And they need machines to eat. So at least we'll find something. At least we will not be the one eliminated. We need to come back with something. Cannot be empty-handed. So we're talking about going to an elven village called Nilodel nearby, get machines by raiding them, and get back tonight, before those assholes know that we are missing. Right, so before the assholes, the Shriners, find out that they're missing. So it's a relatively short trip, and they're talking about going to Nilodel. Take a little bit of an act break here as I give some XP, because you've all been writing down notes, you've done a few things, you did some stealth checks, so it's time to sort of do a little bit of XP reward. Even though you weren't in very big danger, there's always a little opportunity to do that. Those of you, you're a mix of level 2 and 3. The way I do this is actually sort of do a bit of a split, so level 2s get one amount, level 3s get another amount, because it's based proportion to your level. So if you are level 2, you get 50 XP. If you're level 3, you get 75 XP.
It was just now?
Mm-hmm. Just now, yes. That is for understanding all this map, all my waving, all my talking about things, and listening to the goblins.
This cave,
get some XP.
Sorry,
This
cave here, it's just this bit?
Yeah, so you're right at the end, the sort of triangular
so
joint at the end.
Right now, like
Yes, right, yes.
Yeah,
So you're there and you're going up. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you're going up vertically from there. Okay. Great. All right, skill challenges. So, video operator, if you would, Liam. Oh wait, Liam's not there. Okay, so I'll try to remind him to take over. That's fine.
There he is.
Hey, Liam. We'll do another slide, please. Just in time. Excellent. So, here's the situation. When you entered this cave, that flow of air made the place bearable. But the breeze, while you waited, even during that minute, the breeze is starting to lessen, and the temperature in this cave is starting to rise. That comforting breeze is cyclical, apparently. You hear the goblins are just finishing their climb up above, and they're saying, "Hurry up, the air has stopped flowing. And in a minute, when it reverses, the hot air comes out of the crack, and we'll all be cooked." It's be too hot for the assholes to think that we escaped this way, though, huh? That's why we went this way, because we're smart. So, you now know that you have just a minute yourselves to climb out of this ravine to get to the surface before the airflow reverses and you get cooked alive. So it's time to climb fast. So here, the skill that you will all succeed or fail at as a group is athletics. It's based on strength. So it is your strength bonus unless you're proficient in athletics. Again, if you can't find it on your sheet, let me know, but you should have the word athletics there. If you're on that first sheet, if it's not listed there, then you're, so no, I'll show you either way. Yeah, you can stay on this sheet if you like, but it is time to start looking at this one. And athletics here is a +2.
Yeah, cool.
Your strength is +2. If there's a black dot next to it, it would be a +4, because that means you're proficient at it. So different characters, different proficiencies.
Is there any advantage to having kittens and climbing gear to be able to get
Perhaps so. I do have an opportunity to use that sort of thing, but you are in haste. Be ready to leave your pitons behind in order to benefit from them. You want time to get
I
them
have a
back out
bunch
again.
of ropes.
It's like a marathon right now.
All
I
right.
can turn into a
I'm more
spider.
the baby.
Well,
kind of
that's something you can
sleepy,
personally do
tiny.
to
I'm
make
more
sure you
like
succeed. Of course,
the,
these choices are all
like the,
strategic.
a cat thief, the
So,
kangaroo thief that lures in.
Any questions about what the bonus is? Now, all of you will risk damage, and the number that needs to pass is 4. 15 is the DC you need to pass when you do your athletics. Now I'm going to do something which is beads. So I have a number of beads equal to the number of PCs in the party. So it's a lot like in that quick combat. When you take a bead, you don't have to take one. The fair thing is for each of you to take 1, but some you can take 2, and the others, somebody else take 0. You split these up amongst yourselves. This is how much damage you are going to risk taking if the whole party does not succeed. If the whole party succeeds, the beads don't matter. But if you have 1 bead, you take 1 batch of damage. If you have 2 beads, you take double that damage. So the damage is going to hit you. There's no saving throw. If you fail, you just will take damage. That's if you don't get enough successes. So start splitting those beads up,
May I
please.
ask how much
I've got
HP our
Yeah, I've got 15.
I've got 11.
And those that are, of course,
Wait,
taking more beads
didn't
means
you
that
guys
you're
just have
protecting the
Yeah,
others.
if you
Yeah.
level up, you get all your
Oh,
health and
cool.
stuff.
I'm fine then.
We get it all back?
If you level
level
up.
up.
Yeah, if you level up, you get the
Level
beads.
to level
They
three.
went from level 3,
Oh,
so they got they automatically got the benefits of a long rest.
So you
Does
guys
anyone have
haven't done
anything about
well.
athletics?
I'll take
Level
one.
up.
Yeah, I've got, but I might be able
No,
to
I
succeed by turning into a spider.
All right.
Sorry, who's taking?
We're at the
2, 1, we got 2 there, we got 2 there, we got 0 there, 0. Okay.
I think we could all do one each.
Can we not just do one each?
You can do 1 each, but you got to decide now. We got a few seconds.
And we're trying
Let's
to
just
follow
do one
the
each. Who's got
because
2?
we're going on
Well, guys, we're
Let's
going to
start
do
with
one each.
You got 2 over there.
Somebody.
Murr's looking reluctant. The wizard's looking
I've got
reluctant.
full
Someone
HP,
wants
but
something.
One each.
there's
Oh, you sure? I can take.
No,
Is it-
HP.
Okay.
Okay.
We're all
So
right.
it's all amongst yourselves? Okay, so
Yeah.
it's first one. All right. Now, is there anyone that has like a spell that benefits everybody, like Bless, for example, or Bardic Inspiration is the time for you to do that? But, there's several of these things coming up, so watching your spell list, is there anything that blesses everyone?
Well, what's
Cold,
something
yeah,
you
maybe
fix
like a-
three?
probably
It has to
won't
be
help
something-
us
yeah.
with this.
Yeah, the spell, if you're looking for a spell that increases skill checks,
Okay, I'm gonna-
or
I'm gonna
resistance to certain kind of damage, resistance to
I'm
heat
gonna
damage.
cast
Those are
Bless,
things.
but it has to be who's the three worst athletics has to come.
All right, so you're going to cast
I'm
Bless.
-1.
So you,
+0.
you.
I've got 0, you've got 0.
What advantage would I have by turning into a spider and just straight?
Yeah, so you would have basically you have a climbing speed, so your DC becomes very, very low. So
Okay.
it'd be better. You'd be better than advantage, basically.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so
So I
you're
don't
committing
need
to that.
bless, so
Got some
fine.
blesses.
Okay,
Remember, if you got a bless,
so these
get a D.
three.
You roll a D4 on top of the following roll. Everybody understand who's blessed and who's not?
I am
blessed
blessed.
going.
The 2 wizards. And
You erased your spell slot, of course. All right. Now I'm going to go. Don't roll yet until I tell you to. We're going to start on this side of the table and go around. Now we're going to go counterclockwise. So I'm going to do 1 PC at a time. Again, this is your chance, or for the first time, it's a chance to say, is there something about you that you want to make up about your backstory, you know about the backstory, or something about the world they think should give you a +1 on this? Remember, you should always ask the DM, I want to get a plus on this somehow. So you can think of that, and I might give you a +1 on top of your roll.
No, I think I might hold everything
Okay.
for now.
If you do, so we have such a large group that I'm introducing just for this one group here. there's 4 opportunities to juice up your roll by either by coming up with an idea like I'm talking about. So if you have a great idea, you'll take one of these 4. Once the 4 are gone, they're going to a skill challenge. Okay, so you don't have any ingenious ideas. The other thing that you might consider is that if you use a spell, this is like a spell slot, or something you can only do once a day, like Channel Divinity, or a spell slot, or if you're one of those people that has like an ability you only get a few times per day, if you're burning something that's rare, that recharges on a long rest, you get advantage on this roll. So again, this is sort of a cinematic way to use your spells and abilities a bit creatively, so that's something you'll get advantage. So you're kind of balancing how much do I want to risk getting damaged and how much do I want to lose my resources. The last thing is an item. You might have an item that you want to sacrifice the entire item. So, for example, if you give up 6 pitons, then you would have, to someone, that one person gets advantage on their roll. Okay, so that's something you can do as well. So we'll ask that as we go around.
You had a special rope, didn't you? Does that help you?
Ah, special rope. That's right.
That's
Okay,
right.
interesting. All right, so we'll start with you.
Yep.
Yeah. So always mention before. I won't ask each time if you have something you want to juice up your roll by getting advantage or by using those things. Please let me know. Otherwise, you're rolling with your bless. Going for 15.
What's that? 15?
Ooh, start with 15.
No, 14.
Oh, your strength is low enough. Okay, so we have 0 successes so far.
Okay, I want to use my special rope, and I also want to use second wind. Can I use that to help me?
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Now, second wind, it doesn't recharge on it recharges on a short rest, but I will give you a +1 for that. Now, you're going to use one of these things, right? So I'm going to take one of those away because only 4 of you around the table. But I do like that, and also I like the idea of your rope.
Yeah.
You haven't really experimented with this rope yet. Yeah. Is anybody already using pitons and stuff? Yeah. It's like you say, okay, rope, go! You know, he's hold on to, but there's nothing, the rope doesn't seem to respond to commands, or doesn't seem to be especially good. You're not sure what the trick with this rope is. You know it's magical, but you haven't figured out what it is yet. So if you come early, or if you get a move, you'll be able to figure out more, and the identify spell will eventually do it. But not now. Yeah, so it's something we have to do sort of away from before the session. So you get a +1, though, because you're burning your second wind here. Hey, a natural 20! Fantastic! You have a permanent advantage on wow, this is really broad. Oh yeah, climbing a crevasse, because you're very strong at like bracing yourself against opposite walls. So it wouldn't be for a cliff, but for any kind of crevasse or something. Again, you can tell a quick story here about like why are you so good at this?
I did a lot of rock climbing and that sort of thing in the past during the army.
Yeah?
And that's why I have so many ropes on me.
Okay, good.
I'm interested in ropes because it's kind of like my thing, right?
Yeah,
I
okay,
like to
good.
climb.
So this is a great example. So you see you're focusing in, you're doing your character's paintbrush stroke by paintbrush stroke. And the only thing I'll hold you to is that, try to stay consistent. Like, so if you can tell a lot of stories about, oh, I was in the army and I did a lot of outdoor stuff, and then the next time you say, oh, I was always in the city and I did a lot of laboratory stuff, like, wait, which one are you? So you're sort of focusing in your character. So when you commit these details, it's a great way to focus your character in and sort of specify. So very good. Okay, so we have 1 success out of the 4 that you need. Now, Archie, again, you can juice it up if you have
not taking anything special here. I'm just going with
all right.
natural luck.
Natural luck, natural abilities.
17 plus 2 for athletics, 19.
19 is better than 15. Then we have a second success, 2 successes. And again, you're all working together as you do this, so it means that you're being helpful to others as well. Go ahead.
Okay. Shell's going to kiss his holy amulet before he tries to jump.
Okay, all right, fine.
And
An 8 is not enough. No. Tulip has a bit of hard time. The others who are doing better have to hang back for a while as the heat is rising to help Tulip up. Remember, we have 3 more opportunities to juice up your roll with doing something special by getting advantage or whatever else. So go ahead.
I would like to observe the goblins and follow the same path that one of them is going.
Ah, clever. So
use
that's a
the
world
same
fact. Is something I
Yep.
mentioned? You mentioned it too. So you get a +1 on this roll.
Okay.
Take one of these away. Okay, great. So +1 on top of everything else.
10, 11, that's 11.
Oh, 11, not enough. No, so we do not have a success out of that one. The heat is rising. Okay, so last 3, we still need 2 successes amongst the 3 of you.
I'm going to make my pitons available to either of you two if you want to use them.
Very good. How many pitons do you have?
I've got 10.
A 10? Okay, let's just make it a clean 5. So cross off half your pitons. So,
Okay.
and they have to be left behind, but you're making a neo sacrifice.
Sure. And
which of you would have the pitons?
Yeah, I'll take it that way.
Okay.
because I've
And you'll
got
have
+2. I've got plus twin flakes already. And then
Okay, and it means that you'll have advantage, so you'll roll twice, take the higher of the two by giving up your pitons.
And I am going to turn into a spider.
Ah, great! Now tell me about
Piece
this.
of shape.
Have we seen him?
No.
Okay. Whoa! Large
Just
room
stay away from
spider.
I
He's bragged
turn
about
my,
it.
Yeah.
I've seen
Yeah, yeah.
it before.
Particularly concerned.
Yeah.
so I turn my staff around, I look into the mistletoe, and I slam it on the ground, and the staff and me disappears, and then you see a spider.
Holy cow! How many times can you cast that?
Twice per shot.
Okay, good. So you can do it really often. So in this case, normally it'll I'll give you a +1, but you're a spider. You have way better than a +1. Like this circumstance, just casting a minor ability might give you a +1 normally, but this is just too perfect. So you have advantage with a +3.
now he's not considering the possibility of you being.
Yeah, it's just
in
maybe the heat or
disguise.
something, or the wind, the breeze.
Like, we're all saying this, right?
So I get 15.
Even with all that, you barely make it.
+3, -1 for the strength.
Oh.
-1 for.
Well, it's the spider's strength, by the way.
Right.
So use the spider stats, not your own.
No, you gave your +3 as well, so you get 15.
Yeah, so I get 15, yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't got the spider stats.
Yeah, look it up
here,
later on.
but
We'll assume that it's not more than when we'll give you a grab. But next time, use your spider stats. That's very good. Why do spiders have such a hard time? This is what spiders should be good at: is climbing up rocks. I guess the breeze, maybe, or it's too hot. Your little feet are like, oh, Is that something? Okay, so we have 3 successes.
Yes.
3
Yes.
successes.
Yeah,
Okay, we need one more success between the two of you. And we can turn to Dell.
I would like to use my expeditious retreat to try and climb really
Ooh,
quickly.
yes, that makes sense. And how often can you cast that? Is that like a spell? Or
That's
it's
a
like
spell.
Okay, spell
Yeah.
slots. You'll get advantage on this.
Okay.
Again, I'm not doing the actual definition of expeditious retreat. I'm just sort of interpreting in that sort of cinematic way. So yeah, of course, it sounds like the kind of thing that would help.
In the fairness of, or actually being fair, if I was to use the athletics for a spider, it's -4, so I would have failed.
Ooh, oh
Such bad
no.
rolls.
But you
Thank
were
you
on
very
my
much.
shoulder.
That sounds good. That
I
sounds
put
great.
aside my phobia, and we came out together.
You're helping out.
Yeah.
Did I give you a choice?
No, thank you for your honesty. We'll move on. We'll let you pass this time. Let's say the breeze is sort of uplifting you a little bit. If you got like 5 victories, you wouldn't get the extra cash. But we'll still give you 3 victories. Thank you for your honesty. We'll remember that for next time. Anything that so you need some sort of edge. You got the pitons? Or
I've
no, you got the.
I've
so-
got the expeditious.
Oh, that's right, the
retreat.
expeditious retreat. Yes, so you have advantage. So take the higher of the two.
Okay. Oh, that doesn't help.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so 15 plus 0 plus 1, 16.
16, another success. Okay, fantastic. That means that you are just putting a little icing on top.
Dex, I've got advantage, so first one is 12, so okay.
Okay, yeah.
Second one is 9. Well, 12 plus 2 is 14.
Ooh, barely missed.
Nice.
All right,
This is
wow, it
terrible.
is. Okay, but 4 victories is all that you needed. You have worked together successfully. So 4 was the target. You help each other really well. You get out of the ravine just as the gust is really reversing, and the heat flows out of that ravine full of lava, and you know you cannot survive down there. It's just through, luckily these goblins knew this trick, and now you know this one weird trick, how to get out of the Caves of Chaos undetected. Good teamwork. All right. Again, we'll take a few moments will pass. So if anybody's using
Without
spells or
me.
whatever else,
Okay.
that's
Can
what
I
you can do.
cast my mage armor?
Sure. Yep. Feel free. Keep track of your own spell slots. You're going to mage armor yourself.
Yeah.
Bless lasts for how long? 10 minutes?
Let's see.
Yeah. Chances are, usually, if it's 10 minutes, it probably will expire before this next thing.
Up to 1 minute. Yeah, so that
Yeah,
works
up to a
fine.
minute. Okay. All right. Well chosen.
When we get to
Yeah.
the top, so I'm not just like a spider crawling behind everyone walking at normal pace. I'm going to turn back into myself.
You do? All right. Feel free. All right.
And Philip's still
Can I
like,
ask-
we are seeing this, right?
Yeah. You haven't had too many
What
mushrooms.
did I
or anything.
really drink?
And can I ask you to give me a bit of insight on the rope? Is that possible?
Oh,
Sure.
do we have time?
Yeah. So
Yes.
do
Can I do
identify.
Yes,
do
you
that
wrote
with
both of
identify?
us.
How long does
How
identify
do I
take?
go about that?
So you use your pearl. It's going to take 10 minutes, I think. It takes some time. So this will happen in little breaks, but you only get a chance to do one at a time, right?
Yep.
So is this the most important identifier I want to have?
Probably, yeah.
Yep. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yep.
it takes 10 minutes. So
Okay.
I just
That's a good
identify
preference,
that. and-
useful, right?
All right. You can't necessarily wait 10 minutes, but you can kind of do it on the run. There are times where, like, the first part you don't have to navigate very well, so it gives you just enough time to do it. Once you're in the forest, for example, it'd be harder to do. But let's say you could do it on the trot. Well, very good. Please unfold that card.
Wow, how exciting.
Have you kept it?
without looking at it all these weeks.
Definitely hold on to it. It's a rope of mending. Common wanderers can cut into any number of pieces using action to cause to knit back together. Oh, okay. Pieces in contact, not in use. Okay.
Yes, so it's a 50-foot rope. You can cut it up into a bunch of 10-foot lengths, and then when you're done using those 10-foot lengths, you just lay them down together and use an action, and boop, it turns itself back into a full rope again.
Good one.
Yeah.
Tie people up.
Yeah, could be handy for a lot of things. Very good. Thank you for that identify. All right, identify, well done. Of course, I used the spell slot, so that's a bit of sacrifice on your part. Good job. Okay, we're going to the next. Yeah, going to the next one. Da-da-da. All right. I have good news. This skill challenge cannot damage you. Another example of skill challenge we use. So you're in a charred forest. You might remember this when you got kidnapped. You got brought through what looked like a forest that burned down, just like skeletons of trees and ash on the ground. And you're in these gentle hills, and you realize this trench is really cut very sharply into the ground. Like it doesn't look natural at all. That's something you might investigate. Like what caused this weird?
I'm pretty sure we already know that.
Yeah,
it's the meteor.
Very good. That's right. The chaos meteor did some sort of weird warping and tearing up of the ground. Good job. So you are waiting behind some charred trees and stuff out of sight because you can see quite a distance now, and the goblins can see you. So you're sort of peeking around, but they're still very intent. Their heads are down and they're heading towards what you understand is probably the direction of Nyladel. You wait for them to get ahead of you, so they won't see you following them. While you do that, you have the following situation. You're going to put your heads together on what you heard goblins say about raiding Nyladel. It seems like an ideal chance to defend that village. You can get an advantage over these goblins if you are able to get there first, perhaps. Like you know they're coming, you could warn the village that they're coming. Be much better odds than taking them on in the forest. You know, fighting goblins what you're after, but man, defending from a village and being heroes might also be some sweetener on top. Because goblins have a lot of advantages, as Dak wondered. So, this is a history check. The skill you're all using now in a group is history. So you're trying to put together everything you know about Nyladel, and if enough of you succeed, then you'll get advantages in the future when you get to Nyladel to help them defend against goblins. This will be very important for that defense and making that fight a little bit easier. History is based on intelligence. So it is your intelligence bonus, but if you got a black dot next to history on your skill list, you'll notice that's +2 on top of your intelligence.
I'm smart.
Again, we need 4 people. So 4 people, if I get 4 successes, it means that you've already pieced together enough that you get all these advantages about Nyladel. 15 is the DC to pass.
Still need these beats.
No, this time, but push them all in the middle, please. I will be reusing those. There will be an opportunity for damage later, but luckily this time is not damage.
No thanks.
However, succeeding at you might save yourself damage from whatever fight you're going to get into. So you might consider this as just damage deferred if you fail. Anyway. We are going to go around the table, and I shouldn't be rolling, I should be alternating, so we'll start again on this side, and we'll keep binging back and forth. So now we'll go clockwise. Before you go, as usual, you can try to convince me why you should get a special +1 based on your backstory if you use up one of these 4 tokens. So if you want to juice up your roll by getting advantage or a +1 with an interesting fact about yourself or the world, then you can do that 4 times around this table.
Yeah, so as mentioned before, May's parents, before they died, were historians. So they left her a whole bunch
You
of
did
books.
mention that.
So they left her a whole bunch of books upon their death, which is how she figured out a few things. And it's also how she knows that, she knows a lot about history.
Very good. Are you trained in history? Is that one of your proficiencies?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so that explains the proficiency and all that stuff, and I'm going to give you a +1 for that story. Thank you very much.
Oh, gotcha.
Whoa! Holy cow! Another natural 20. May, you also know everything. You know Nyladel is obviously one of your favorite things you study. You have books on it. Nail, like fingernail. Odel. Odel. It's an elven word.
We're asking
It
about
means-
Nyladel, and she's like,
First of
well,
all-
actually.
Yes, actually, Nyladel means night breeze brook in Elvish, which is true.
So many bushes
Sound
to
like
hide
a
in.
little monocle.
Now, I won't go on and on, because
Yeah,
we'll
I
keep things
speak
moving,
Elvish too.
but you have a permanent advantage. Anytime you roll history about Nyladel, you will always have advantage.
Nice.
And you definitely give yourself a victory for the group on that one. Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
so when we heard those goblins talking about Magoogliot, my hackles raised up, and I could. There was something. I just saw a vision of Cragmore, and in my head, and I'm just like, I need to stop these goblins because there's something that's driving me, and I don't really know what it is yet, but I just need to save Cragmore.
That's fantastic. Okay, see, this is another example of just, committing to something in the backstory that gives you that +1 on it. And so, you're getting advantage, and that gave me chills. That's great. That vision suddenly occurred to you. So it means that you're really thinking extra hard about every history, scouring your brain, so motivated you are by that hatred and fear of the goblins. Okay, so you got a +1 on your history. You're going to try and make it 15.
Where's my history? This one.
Oh, yeah. Good.
21.
21, fantastic. 2 victories already, 2 out of 2. All right, Dale, what do you do?
I don't really have
Dale.
any idea of the village because I haven't left mine too many times.
Okay. Okay, so
Try
this
and
one,
use
so natural history, you can't think of another way to juice it up. Leave these for somebody else. Makes sense.
20.
Oh, 20, great. 3 victories. You are really nailing it. So you can roll a natural 20?
No.
Okay, you should
Dirty
yell
20.
nat 20 when you do it. Okay, that's great. What about you got 20 total? Dirty 20, as they say.
Duncan does not know
Derek.
enough about the world as far as he can remember because he's quite young.
Oh, okay,
So
fair enough.
he's just going to try and invest in maybe he can recall something.
Okay, great. Let's give it a go.
Oh, a 4.
4?
Mine.
Never heard of it.
Nah.
And then the trips.
May, I'm sure May can fill you in. It's like, oh, you've never heard of Nilodel? Let me tell you about it.
Sit down.
All right, Tulip.
Tulip perks up when he hears that there's an elven village, and then he's like, yes. And he's like, yes.
Very excited. So, do you want to take one of these 2 remaining tokens and give yourself a +1 with something in your backstory that means you know, especially about Nilodel or whatever else, or something?
Not sure if he'd necessarily something that'd be why he'd know about Nilodel, but he also does remember his vision from his goddess and his weird state.
Yes, okay, so you'll find out more about this, but Nilodel is exceptional. It's a real traditional elven village. It's very close to nature. They tread very lightly on nature, and as such, very much revered, like Nilodel and people who live in this way. They're wood elves, and they're very much in sync with nature. So you will get I like filling that in, so it's a +1 based on backstory. Maybe you heard a lot of things that were like fictional about Nilodel. You compare with May, it's like, oh, I heard the Nilodel is this, and this is like, that was a comic book version of Nilodel. It's like, yeah, that's not canon.
No.
All right, so what else do we?
Laser eyes.
Yeah, there's laser eyes.
Well, you may have noticed recently that Archie was a little bit distracted, so he hadn't been paying any attention to what was going on, and as a consequence of that, he's just, I don't know, I can add much to this
Short stories a history.
conversation. That's
Well,
right.
short stories is a history
Just
roll.
not
So
really,
look up history, and when you get 4 successes around the table to get a benefit.
So we'll
for
just
the
go
whole
with
plain old history.
a not a very good roll.
All right. Last 2, you still need a
I
victory.
just need one more.
Still need 1 more victory, and there's only 2 left.
Well, I come from quite a wealthy family who gave me a good education, and I also have a +2 in history, so I know a bit, but not a
Good.
huge amount.
Good, yeah, okay. Yeah, let's build on that. So let's use this because it sounds like a good way to do it. Why would a rich family be interested in Nilodel from what you've heard so far? Just help me write that story. Yeah, I think it would make sense. Like, why
Well,
are
just
parents
from
interested?
from the education that they forced me to get.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
that I had to, but there wasn't a particular. It was just something I learned.
Yeah, yes, maybe you had to memorize, write a report, perhaps,
Yes,
on
yes,
at some point. Okay,
yeah.
so that gives you a
Which you
+1.
finally appreciate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good thing I wrote that report on Nilodel. Okay, so you get a +1 on top of your other history.
Oh, I got a 1. I didn't
Yeah.
Oh.
You failed that report.
Yeah.
So that means you still have a
Yeah, you have a permanent disadvantage on Nilodel history. Now,
Whereas I'm just running back.
Shouldn't have
permanent
tried to stick it that
disadvantage.
day.
You're not always stuck with these. If you ever roll a natural 20, you can undo a disadvantage, right? So that's you're not stuck with it forever. But if you want to ride with it, or you just ride it along. Another nice thing is that if you, I forget obviously, if you remind me, say, by the way, remember I suck at Nilodel history. It's a good way to get a plot point, right? If you're revealing to the DM like, hey, it's a good story that I'm going to totally biff this. Let me choose to roll disadvantage because of this. So it's good to remind me. So that permanent disadvantage. Also, an advantage, get rid of disadvantage, or, instead of taking a disadvantage, you can lose an advantage. So if you had a natural advantage, you can lose it because you rolled 1 instead of taking that disadvantage. A little bit of, again, a way to sort of build out your character. So another house rule that I like that seems to be very popular. It's a way to build your character a bit at a time. But only 3 victories with only 1 left. How good are you in history, Merc?
Pretty good. I got a +5.
Ooh, okay.
Yay.
Now,
Still
that's right, there's no more tokens. There's no way to juice it up. Yeah.
Was
Hey, all right, fantastic. The 4th victory just in time. Good job, Murr. Murr brings it home. All of you who succeeded really helped put things together, and you get a good result. You put your ideas together. You know exactly where Nilodel is. You know the goblins are actually going pretty soon as they travel. You realize the goblins are not going the fastest possible way. You know how to make a beeline, like a shortcut to Nilodel, thanks to this. You also can do a better job building its defenses. We'll get to a phase where we get to Nilodel building its defenses. You remember you have advantage. Everybody gets an advantage on the roll because you're all spreading knowledge about Nilodel. Some people more than others, I'm sure, about as you're marching along. Okay, so that's good teamwork on that one.
That's pretty disinformation.
Yeah, don't listen to Tulip. Listen to me. All right.
Talking about what we know.
Okay. So again, some time passes. A few hours will pass as you cross, so an hour or two. As you're again at a distance, you're following the goblins through that charred forest to the east. So basically, you come up here and you're kind of going straight east for a little while. And this charred forest, however, eventually sort of ends. You can see the end of the charred forest off in the distance. And even before them, the goblins, going pretty much the right direction for Nilodel, they take a turn and they go into the forest, the exact spots where you were taught to fear the goblins, but it seems their way through. And you do know that Nilodel is in the forest. It's very natural. You have no choice. However, you have an opportunity to kind of cut them off a little bit. You think you can kind of get around the goblins at this point, and then you'll be ahead of them, and they'll be actually catching up to you, unbeknownst to them. So this is where another option to use your skills will come in. So you moved a little bit east of the charred forest. Again, if you're noting this on maps, that's interesting. So you're kind of going off this way. And then you're going northeast. So you're basically going northeast from the Caves of Chaos into a forest. This is a thick forest. If you went to the forest around Fallcrest, those are forests that maybe grew back or been farmed since the Narathians expanded here. This is primeval forest, like never been cut down forest, thick and wild. And it's a great thrill for those who are very naturally oriented. Anybody who's been in the Nentir Vale's never seen like untouched primeval forest before, so you can imagine that being a little exciting. Primeval. Well, primeval means very old. Just goes back to sort of all the originals. So you're going to get around the goblins and try to get to Nilodel, raced ahead of them. So here is a skill challenge. You want to find your way quickly, or else the goblins will catch up to you in the forest. So the roll you need to make here is survival. Survival is based on wisdom. It's a wisdom bonus. And if you're trained, you get another +2. Survival. Rangers, of course, there are some classes that are very good at this sort of thing. Druids are often quite good at survival. It's based on wisdom because just sort of knowing, like what's dangerous and getting a sixth sense about what to do. Again, you're going to need a 15 to contribute to 4 victories, which are necessary. And if you don't, you think the goblins will catch up to you. These beads, there should be 8 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, so again, split up the beads. If you have a bead, you're at risk of taking damage from goblins. Again, if you fail, you're guaranteed to take some damage.
Really bad?
Huh?
At survival?
I have +3.
I've got a +3.
Keep in mind that what you're really doing is based on like how many hit points do you have, how delicate are you, because you're taking a bead just means that, if the group fails, everybody with the bead takes damage. And if you don't necessarily take a bead because you're bad at survival, you just don't, you maybe not take a bead because you just think you can't handle too much damage.
Like the person with like 5 hearts, 5 hit HP.
That's right, exactly. Everybody happy? Okay.
You got that.
We're definitely happy.
Who's got the 2? Oh, okay.
Archie's got one.
People,
Archie's taking it.
people who have larger health should tank it.
It is. It's sort of the role of the tank. Yeah,
It's full health.
it's clearly
full health, but
fighter's
I'm
job
tanking
and clerics to some degree is to absorb damage. Okay. Go around the table. So this time, we're going counterclockwise. Again, you can juice it up. You have 4 opportunities to juice up your roll if you feel like you're not very good at it. So this is where you account for your skill by taking one of these precious 4.
No, I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah, it could be a spell you sacrifice, it could be an item you sacrifice, or just something that gives a roll factor +1. Okay,
No.
pure roll.
Oh my God.
Survival. Woo!
1922.
Hey, very good. Amur does pretty well. You wouldn't expect, but you were up in the mountains. You were doing all this stuff. Okay, that makes sense.
Proficiency in survival.
Yeah. I mean, it still tells you something about your backstory. You can imagine, Amur's pretty admirable at this stuff. That's 1 victory. Okay, next.
I've come from the army, so I have a natural advantage of 3+ in survival. So.
Oh, and yeah, that's right. So I can give you an extra +1 by citing the army by taking one of these off the table. Or you can just say nah, I'm just gonna rely on it.
I don't need it.
Okay, don't need it. +4 in survival. Good army experience.
4, 13.
Yeah.
+3 is 16. Yeah.
16, a second victory. Good. You are making good time. You know, different ones of you get in the lead here. You know, you might argue, but so far you've all been agreeing about the right direction to go. And then we come to Archie.
So Archie's his background is as a hunter in the farming communities near Lake
Okay.
Dell.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Lake Ned.
He spends days out.
Good.
In the,
Okay.
in the
So I can
woods
give you an
and
extra
so on.
+1 for that fact if I take this off the
Yeah.
table, and plus your natural survival. Okay. All right. So +1 on top of everything
8,
else.
9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, for all of
Ooh,
that.
not quite enough.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's a different
Maybe it's
woods
the.
that he's not used to.
Yeah,
No,
it's like
it's
even the
this
forest or
primeval
lake. This is why
forest.
Lake Ned is so crazy about these stories about Nilodale. It's like Nilodale is in a primeval forest. Like Lake Ned, it's like that forest was cut down and grew back and been sort of farmed.
This
It's
is
like you
crazy
go,
woods.
wow, this is not what I'm used to. The trees are so close together. Okay.
Jerky.
Anything that you think would juice you up? Or do you want to take one of these 3 remaining opportunities to juice it up?
I mean, he's gonna just clutch his poly symbol again.
Okay, yeah, it's a nice sort of a bit of color, but yeah, we'll keep up.
Oh, it's just 14.
14, oh, not quite enough. Oh, I'll use that 1 extra point. Okay, so we've got 2 victories, we're halfway around the table.
Jarakan has spent a lot of time, like, getting through, like, with his hunting and, like, because obviously he was an archer and he's quite acrobatic in and around. He spent a lot of that in the forest.
Sure,
and,
I remember that story, yeah.
And around the terrain, like, so using that. So as he kind of got better at climbing, he also got better at kind of picking up survival skills.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll take one of these off the table and you'll get a +1 on top of your
like
survival
just
roll.
jumping through the trees.
Yeah. That is a 16, 17.
Very good. A 3rd victory, a 3rd success. Okay, doing good contributions. That takes us.
So Gale is, as we're moving through the forest, looking for animal runs from his time in other
Ooh,
forests.
I like that,
Looking
yeah.
for different ways through the brush that other creatures have taken before.
Oh, I like that's a nice detail. Sure, I like that very much. Yeah, I'm going to give you +2 because of that. I really envisioned that. Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. So +2 on top of survival.
So that is 18.
18, all right. 4th victory. Very good, very good. Okay, but overkilling it still has financial benefits as well. You'll get a bit of treasure. So let's turn ourselves to the next.
Okay, so Dell has dedicated decades of her life to learning and understanding. So while she might have only observed the forests around Lake Nen, she's definitely read about primeval forest and
the primeval forest in
tried
particular,
to
yeah.
understand, more about nature.
Okay, so you
she
might
could
fill
observe.
Archie in like, I think Archie, this is,
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, so here you're helping school. Archie is like, this is a different kind of forest you're used to. I've read all about this. Okay, I like that. So we'll give you a +1 for that one, on top of everything else, your survival.
So that was survival, that is 10.
10, not quite enough. All right, still 4 victories, but we're trying to get that 5th one to get a little bit of extra. We have no more things on the table, so it's just pure survival roll for you, May.
Yep. Grew up a street rat. Let's see if you can do this.
That's right, it's the city girl.
So that would be 16.
16, fantastic! Hey, that's fine. All right, that's great. That's great.
I was expecting a nat 20.
I would not expect anything less.
And then but she can dive like the witches, right?
You find you find unfortunately remains of a dead elf, wood elf here who's been savaged by something with very large claws and teeth, and it seems like it's been dead for probably a couple of years. And the elf does have money and jewelry. Actually, it's the jewelry in particular. There's only a few coppers. So you're going to have an interesting thing. You're going to have, they might be from Nilodale, from what you can tell. Because you passed that history, you can sort of tell by the instincts, like, they might be from Nilodale. Which means that you might choose to give this away once you reach Nilodale, or maybe you could sell it in Nilodale for a little bit more money. This is a moral choice that you have ahead of you. But do write down Nilodale jewelry, and it is worth 10 silver. 10 silver pieces. 10 SP, yeah. So just write down Nilodale silver jewelry, 10 SP.
In one of the previous zones, I can't remember right, my last sheet one, I found a legacy town that never make kind of reading that was maybe extra for
Mm.
special sets. Would this also be?
Yes, but different
resell it?
style. Yes, so I believe there's the Mushroom Cave. We found that one.
That was for
Yeah.
Feywild.
Yes, that was Fey.
Yeah.
So there's different varieties of elves. That was Fey. What high elves and Fey elves have a different sort of style. Whereas this is wood elf jewelry, and so it has a very strong natural theme. So imagine that that this is a silver jewelry
So
that has a natural theme.
would this, if you were to sell this bit of jewelry, would it be extra for certain specialists as well? 'Cause
That's
it's-
right. Yeah. Anytime you have jewelry, if you hang on to it and sell it to the right audience, you can often sell it for more. And sometimes if you come early and spend one of your session stamps, say like, hey, I'm just going to retcon off the map. I'm going to go wander around. So you can sell it for more by spending a little bit of time before sessions too.
So what?
10 SP. And that's because you got 5 victories, right? So that 5th victory is what put you into the spot where not only did you succeed as a group, good job, but you also were relaxed enough that you could, or keen enough, your senses were not overwhelmed that you spotted this corpse.
Goodness, baby.
You wish that you wish that you could stay and give it proper burial or collect it, but you really don't have much time. You know the goblins are catching up, like you can't even delay yourself for a minute. You just have enough to maybe take some idea, but you remember where it is. So you might let's say that you're taking enough notes that you could probably find this body again if there's an interested party. Okay. No damage has been taken so far. As you're moving, you see a very strange thing to the east. This is again, several minutes go, an hour or two goes by. You're in the forest, but and it's very hard to see. But you see in a gap in the trees to the east, the land gets very steep all of a sudden to the east, and it's weird. There's dead trees, so unlike the lush forest, there's thick primeval density trees, but they're almost all dead, and they're sticking sideways out of this land, or like at a very sharp angle. Just geologically, it just doesn't make sense. It looks like you had what would normal land and just got actually sort of like stretched or pulled up, sort of like a cat kneading a blanket, sort of pulling it up in different spots. And it's like this big fold, it's too dense to really get a good idea, but you spot a few things like, well, it extends all the way there, and it's high over there, and it's even like higher. It's like it gets higher as you go to the south. So it's just, like right around here, basically. You think there's like a fold of land, or maybe there's more than one fold of land, just this really weird sort of geological feature to the east. And you can't keep going east at this rate. You're going to have a hard time because you have to climb that thing. But you're going to the northeast, so it looks like you'll go around it. I'm just saying this is an interesting feature that you might remember for later on. Warped land. Okay, you continue northeast. All right, next up. As you're moving, again, after a couple hours, you come to there's a ravine that is the quickest way, is a good way to get further ahead of the goblins, but it is filled with thorns. Like you sort of knew from the history, like this is the right way to go, but maybe this used to be a popular way to get to Nyladel, and you heard maybe from your comic books this is a famous way to go to Nyladel, but it is overgrown with thorny weeds at the moment. And if you were to force you maybe start to move yourself through, and like you start getting scratched, like, whoa, we're going to get torn to ribbons, like spin effects, or like Lantana, if you can imagine that, filling this thing. But there's really, to go around, you lose a lot of time. So you decide the only way to succeed is to try to get through this. This is where nature is going to be important. If you have a nature skill, that means that you can sort of, these plants, like the plants are different ages. Like, well, some of these plants might be young and they won't have their thorns yet, or they'll be kind of old, or the swampy areas will be better than the high areas, or vice versa. If you have enough nature to put together, you'll be able to pick a path through this where you won't get damaged. So you'll be able to avoid the thorny, scratchy bits. There's quite a lot of it, and so yeah, and they're quite wet. They're quite verdant. Oh, yeah. They're not dry. Frost Wizard here. Okay.
I was going to say someone can burn it, but I don't have the facilities.
Now, if you were to say, oh, I'm going to use my Burning Hands spell, and therefore I'm going to get advantage because I am going to do, then you can personally get advantage, but you wouldn't clear it for the whole group, unfortunately. So do feel free to use, especially a spell slot, or if you have Firebolt, that's only a cantrip, you get a +1, right? You're burning stuff. You don't think it would spread. So, nature is based on intelligence, and you might have a proficiency in it. Anybody have trouble finding nature? Let me know. All right, we again have 4 opportunities to juice up your roll. 15 is your DC to pass, and we have beads. Okay, so push all your beads in the middle, or allocate. We'll start off with them all in the middle. Put 8 in the middle.
I'll take one.
Should be 8, and yeah, so start spreading them around. Need 8 beads taken care of. All right. Murr's like, all right.
I know, he's really looking out for
I didn't
himself
do
there.
If everyone's grabbing them, I'm not gonna grab one.
You have mine because you have more HP than me.
Okay, we gotta agree. Yeah, no, so which
grabbed
is,
it.
this
Roll
is now
for it.
nobody's. This is now nobody's. One of you can take it, or somebody else can take it. Okay.
No one's gonna
all
turn
right.
it. I'll take it.
All right, all right. So we'll go around the table. Which way did I go last time? I'm going this way, so I'm starting here. Okay, starting with May. Again, if there's anything you want to juice up your roll, we have 4 opportunities around the table to do so, or tell a little
She's
story.
alright, she gets a nat 20.
I won't. I think more than toothpaste pushing my mind. Okay, so
You explode.
so because she knows all about Melodel and she knows the area that this path used to be popularized, she knows the plants.
Sure.
There was
Yeah,
a
you
lot
can.
of-
Yeah, so I'll give you a +1 on that because it means that of the many books that you've read about Nilodel, you actually remember a book in particular about the plants around it. Yeah, okay, sure. That's great. So you get a +1 on your nature check. I make it 15. You're kidding.
Exactly.
Natural 20. Wow, this has been a great trip for you,
There
eh?
is something about this place that's
Yeah.
drawing
You should
you.
build a house here. You should stop adventuring. I think this is you found your
A place to
home.
settle. A place to settle.
Get those goblins.
Yeah, have a nice house at the top of a ravine, surrounded by thorns. Nobody will ever mess you.
Some wolves.
Are you a fighter? Are you a fighter?
Yeah.
Well, you're actually a scholar now.
Thorns.
Okay,
Yeah,
you have a
solid
permanent
thorns.
advantage on nature checks with thorny plants. Yeah, and there's spells that create thorny plants, so this might actually be quite useful.
Just in case you jump into a bush that
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
the best choice.
All right, nature checks with thorny plants. That is your jam. Well, obviously that's a success. Okay, what do we do next?
I'm just gonna roll.
Okay, all right, just roll.
21.
21. That's 2 successes. Good start. Okay, Gail.
I'm going to use a cantrip to produce flame and start burning my way through.
Okay, great. So that's going to give you a +1. It's a cantrip. It's a minor sacrifice. It definitely helps.
20.
20. Very
21,
good.
sorry.
Okay, puts you over the edge. We got 3 successes already.
I have nothing. Oh, 18.
18. Very good. Okay,
You
still
slipped
4th
in
success.
behind somebody who's burning.
Yeah. I'm just,
My goodness, we got such great results.
You'd
Very good.
think a guy who worships a nature goddess would have a better advantage on that. Anyway, we'll see.
No.
Cancer.
Okay, 4. We still have 4 victories though, so now we're just stacking it on.
I'm just gonna hack and slash my way through. I've got my sword, and I know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good. I like that.
You could use
So
your
yeah.
shield. It's not a
Oh, what kind of weapon do you have?
Oh, I have a great sword on a long sword.
Oh, that makes
so I
sense.
could
Yeah,
use
great
that.
sword
But
would be
great
like almost
sword,
like a
I was thinking
machete.
Two-handed.
Yeah.
Just hacking my way through.
Okay, I can give you +1 on that if we don't mind taking one of these off the table. Okay, so yeah, you get +1 because that great sword is swinging so hard. Oh,
Yes.
4. It's like Kong, it gets sort of wrapped up, you know, it's like it keeps getting tangled. You sort of cut yourself a little bit. It's like, ooh, this isn't as easy as I thought. It's sort of springy. Someone behind
Gets
you, you
caught,
know, almost gets
yeah, gets caught in the things
it
behind.
bounces off and nearly hits
Yeah.
somebody behind you. It's like, oh, this is okay. Maybe the great sword isn't the best idea.
Right.
We've got 4 victories. Now it's
Well,
you.
I've seen Archie and I've got a great sword as well, and I've just
I'm gonna do
followed suit.
You're gonna show me how it's done.
Oh, I
Not
see.
be
Let's
something
see.
to
Let's
do,
see
I'm
how it's
thinking
done.
at the
Okay,
moment,
good. So you
right?
get that +1. This is how you do it.
And I only got a 6.
This is clearly not a good strategy, is it?
Until I stay away from these
swing your
2.
sword, mate,
You should just keep trying.
All right. Last chance for a 5th
It's
victory.
very important. This
Yep, that's it. We don't have any more tokens to take.
12. Oh, 15. Yeah.
Hey, very good. Murrah once again comes through. All right. So as you go
How's it
through. This time you find another elven corpse. This one is fresher. This one has only been dead for a couple months. It looks like it was running away from something and just tore itself to ribbons. The kind of fate that you were trying to avoid. That it was being chased, and you can just see that it's hanging grotesquely in the thorns. You know, this body didn't even sort of hit the ground. It sort of like got all tangled up and obviously bled to death. You find another, so that same Nilodel jewelry, just put 2. So you have 2 more examples of that jewelry. Wow, great! My goodness.
so well.
Okay.
Like, I
You're
know we're
getting
making bank, but like this is
You're getting
change.
close to Nihilidel now. All right.
Just watch my life be like getting nat ones the rest of the game.
No, it's something about the energy of the place, obviously. There must be something
Really?
going
Yes,
on.
I see that.
It's
Natural
something.
affinity to it.
Okay. So you are getting quite close to Nihilidel. There's a stream that you need to cross, and you follow the stream. It's crossing it. It would sort of tumble you around. You get wet. You probably fall over. You might take some drowning damage or some rocks damage. It's just a real rushing, more like a river than a stream. And you find the classic log crossing river. It's a tree that maybe has been deliberately felled. You have no time to check it out, but it's crossing over. But you also, even though you've been making some good time, the goblins have been catching up faster. Like even though they don't see you, one of you looks back and you hear them and you see some movement through the trees. Like, oh my god, we don't have time to go across one at a time. It's fairly long. You're gonna have to go across. You have to run across at the same time. And this is where acrobatics will come in.
How wide is this river?
I'm gonna need a +10 again.
Yeah. It's
Just so I
plausible
can
for a
get
log
like
to be
a
across. I'd
30
say it's like 20 feet.
20 feet.
Do we have time to tie a rope to it to everybody?
This would be the kind of thing where you would have to sacrifice the rope. You have to tie the rope on one end, and you wouldn't have time to untie it. You can tie it to each other.
To each other is what I mean.
To
So in
each
case someone
other.
gets swept away.
Oh, I see.
Then all of
Race
us
gets
gets
pulled
pulled
back up.
I have a ladder.
Okay. I would say yes, that would count. But if you fall in, the rope will be torn and ruined, and by the time you get out, you'll be sacrificing the rope if you take damage.
I have a mending rope.
So what it'll do is it'll lessen the damage that you take, but you'll lose the rope in the process. Is that something you want to
I'm
use?
not willing to lose my rope.
Oh yeah, your rope. If I'm sure this is if you have an ordinary rope, you're willing to.
I have a ladder.
I have an ordinary
How do you have a ladder?
Yeah.
There's a thorny
I
have a
ladder.
vines being attacked with the plant.
Called the builder.
We're going to start from around here again. Remember, this is survival. However, this is acrobatics. As you go across, what does he sound like? Hang on, let me look something up. You see a figure on the other side. Someone is fishing on the other side. It is a wood elf. And at a glance, experts that you are, he's a wood elf dressed very traditionally, and he is young. Let me just look this up here. Looking at my wiki. Oh, I love this. So great. I haven't been to. Nobody's been to Nihilidel for a
You get out
long
your
time.
monocle. I know exactly who that is.
A classic example of the elf.
Well, what the heck are you doing here? This is a wood elf, a young wood elf. He is maybe a late teen, which of course, or he looks teenage, which for elves, of course, is maybe 30 or 40 years, but he's sort of, of immature years. He has a hat. He tips his hat. He says, "Oh, this is pretty dangerous to cross. Are you trying to get across? What's going on?" So he puts away his fishing rod, and you have a chance just to very quickly but the goblins are coming. So do you want to give away the fact the goblins are coming? Do you want to take a chance with them? What do you do?
I think we should tell him he could run ahead.
Yeah,
and
tell him.
Good goblins!
If there's a way that we can get across quickly, because we're...
So, you can come across the log. Well, I can hold the log down a little bit. It's going to rotate. It's going to kind of roll. It does a little rotation thing. So I'm gonna lay down on it. And he lays down on it. He sort of grips the ground like, okay, I'm holding on as tight as I can. And it does make it a little bit easier to cross. Your DC is only 14 instead of 15, thanks to. My name's Emerald, by the way. I'm from Nihilidel. I said, okay, yeah. So we have news for you.
How fast
Do you
are
know,
elves? Like, how fast do they run?
Wood
Faster than
elves can run, I don't know, maybe 30 foot thing. But so this is all, you are talking about your own movement speed?
Oh no, because I was saying if we send him with a message saying goblins are coming, like wanting to raid you, could he run ahead of us and warn everyone?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, yeah.
Yourself or go
Let's
for a
help.
message?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a choice. You say no, don't help us. Go run to Nihilidel. Yeah, so it won't make your DC any easier, but you'll do that good.
But that could make a difference.
Send him running.
Yeah,
Send him
But
running.
we'll come and help you, but the goblins are coming too, so he can make the choice.
Yeah. Well, what do you want me to do? You want me to hold down the log, or want me to go back to the
I want
village?
them to hold down the log.
Hold the log.
Oh, I'll stay here. Okay, so if that's the agreement, you're going to have another challenge, and this is the last one before you get to Nihilidel. This is acrobatics, so it's based on dexterity. If you have trouble finding your sheet, let me know. The damage, if you fall in the river, that's bad, so everybody put the beads back in. Let's see, 8 beads in the middle. them all there. I see 8. Yes, and now split them up.
They're gonna have.
Split them up.
He seems to be doing pretty well without it, so.
Oh, that's right, I got
Okay.
28.
Which direction are we supposed to go now? How can I tell? Starting with Myrrh. All right. So, again, we have 4 opportunities to juice that up. Your DC is only 14, thanks to Emerald holding down his end of the log. It's got to be on the table to count.
I have a decent acrobatics, so I'm.
Oh, really?
not
All
gonna-
right. Multi-talented Myrrh.
Oh, no. That means nothing.
Everyone's just collected. So imagine you're all moving across, but those of you who roll poorly are like you're moving to the side and you're losing your balance, you're causing the log to roll a little bit, so the rest of you have to compensate, so you're all just kind of wavering back and forth. And so the more that you fail, all of you will tumble off if you don't get enough successes. We have 0 successes so far. What's yours?
Well, I have a rope. Is it possible to tie one end and go across since I'm one of the first ones going across and hold on to it? So it's 50 feet. So if I can go across, at least it would be something.
Lassoing it to a tree.
Well, we're all going
And the
across
last
at the
person
same
can
time.
actually untie it at the end.
Yes, if you want to have it fixed to the side and have the last person not get the benefit, well, it's something that I'll just say.
I've got +7. I'm fine.
I don't want to give +1 to everybody because of
Okay.
that, right? No, but I like the idea. But let's say just for whatever reason, it'll benefit you, so it'll give you a +1, and then let's just call that a mild effect that helps the group.
5 plus 3, so.
Not enough. Okay. Well, despite the rope, that's fine. You still will get your rope back. What do?
I'm just dancing across.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
nothing
see how
special.
we
All
go.
right.
With a 16.
16. We have our first success. So you keep your balance quite well, helping the group stay on the log. What are you doing?
He's just gonna try and
Okay, just do it without any help.
Force it.
7.
Oh, Tulip. No, Tulip is staggering around. The log is rolling. We only got 1 success.
Is it time to
Darrican.
drink? Secret power, is that right?
That is a 20.
A 20. Good job. Darrican helps keep the balance. We got 2 successes so
And to
far.
add on to that, as soon as I'm across, I'm going to turn around. Can I hold log as well?
Let's say it's happening too quickly. So,
Yeah.
so I like your idea, but let's just finish this out. Go ahead.
So I'm going to try and do it. Like some of the animals, cross like some of the animals that I've seen.
Oh, yeah, I like
climbing
that.
and crossing unsteady platforms, like on all 4s.
Oh, okay. All right, great. All right. So I'll take one of those off the table. It's clever. You get a +1 on top of your acrobatics for using that knowledge.
Oh, I do not. That's a 6.
Okay, we have 2 left, and we need 2 successes, or else into the drink you go. We have 2 opportunities to juice it up.
I grew up in a tree house, and so I've been, swinging and jumping and climbing all over my tree my entire life.
Okay.
So I can see like the knots and the little side bangs
Okay,
and
good,
things like
good.
that. I can see how to balance across
Yeah.
that log.
All right, I like that. Okay, cool. So we'll give you +1 for that. You remember that in your backstory.
Interesting
We'll
to
keep
know
using that.
where she comes from.
Exactly.
Hey.
Yeah.
17.
17. All right. We have our 3rd victory. It's all down to
pressure.
you.
As the,
No
as,
pressure.
Yeah.
As said before, May was like in a gang on something in like
Yeah.
Full Crest.
Ah.
So part of that was being like a cat thief. So like that's how
Oh,
acrobatics is
some
so
cat
high.
burglar stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good. We'll take that last one off, and you
Okay.
get a +1 on top of your acrobatics. Here we go.
I have a +8. That's still not enough. That's 13.
Oh, not enough. The log starts to wobble, so you're nearly across, and you tumble off into the river.
The 3
You
natural
try to
ones
keep your
took us right
balance,
out.
but too many of you wobble and throw the others off balance. You all fall into the stream, and we're like, oh no! As you go in, you get wet, you get knocked about on the rocks. Everybody who has a bead takes 8 points of damage. If you have 2 beads, you take 16 points of damage. Yep, these things hit
What's your
hard.
health now? Because you had low-ish health
I have 6.
now. Okay. Anyone lower than 6?
Yeah, you got 16 damage. How much did you have? What do you have now?
He's at
I'm
4.
12.
Me, no, 12, down to 12.
Ooh, all
No,
right.
28.
Yeah,
Oof.
Unless, while I was away, you
No.
want me to
No.
knock some damage off.
We
How
didn't
much
take any
health?
damage.
You didn't take any damage?
No.
He's
That's
level
just damage.
3.
28.
Yeah, level 3, you have pretty
so
high
max-
constitution, I
Does your
assume,
max
yeah?
health go up when you...
Yeah.
It does,
Every
yes.
time you level up,
You
max
add your
health goes
constitution.
up.
Which then show up on mine.
If
Okay.
you,
Was
Yeah,
it
if you come early or afterwards, we can
that was just
tell
the
that.
normal, take the middle.
Yeah, you just took the default. You just have high
Default.
constitution, and then it all adds up. Good job. Okay.
Oh, is it 26 now?
You throw the log in. The Emerald's like, oh, I got an idea. So if goblins are following, let's get rid of this damn log. You don't need it anymore, do you? So he starts trying to push it. Do you want to push the log in so that the goblins can't follow
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
Might as
right.
well.
you? Yep, you do that, and the goblins, just as you run away, the goblins see you, and they're like, hey, it's them! You know, so they basically they've heard of you before. It's like, what are they doing here? Ah, shit! So they're trying to, but they stop. They can't go across. They start heading around the stream. So you know you've bought yourself quite a lot of time with this move, and you reach Nyladel. All right, we're going to be taking a break quite soon, but there's one important thing that you want to do. During the break, you can do the math of a short rest as you get to Nyladel. I'll describe it real quickly. You already knew what to expect, you experts as you are, but it is in the trees. They like to live off the ground, but they do not cut a single branch. They do not cut a bush. They do not burn a bush. You know, you with your burning hands around there. So they're living in perfect harmony with nature, and there's a number of wood elves. They don't look like they're fighters, but they're obviously some hunters. There is a walkway that connects several of the trees, about 20 feet off the ground, a thin walkway, and that connects into some big, thicker trees where there's a number of just different sort of huts and buildings and common areas that are there. They are not used to strangers, but again, because of your advantage that you got, let's just say you sort of know how to hail them properly and you show respect to them the right way, and they welcome you. So we'll develop this after the break. You quickly, of course, convey to them, I assume. You're going to tell them, like, there's goblins coming. You've got to defend yourself. So a buzz of activity fills this. You have one important decision, which I'm going to increasingly offer when you're about to fight an enemy. Instead of combat, you always have the option to co-opt a foe instead of kill. It's called the kill or co-opt thing. So this is, I think there's a video, if you do a slide for that, Liam. So we're done with the skill challenge series. Once again, these codes, by the way, if you're a patron, if you're on patreon.com, I release these materials. So a lot of these materials, you can use it yourself as a DM in your own games. If you're a gold level subscriber, you get these materials for free, gold or platinum. And I think, Mark, you've got a hold of the old version of that. This is much more populated than the last version, so I've updated it again. And so you can say, oh, I want to have a skill challenge like that in the game that I run. I try to make it as easy as possible, and those materials are all available. So you can see those codes like that, those hashtag codes, you can look up and find that in my materials. So it's always a good reference. Kill or co-opt the foe is a choice where, briefly, you've got the opportunity to figure out, if you have a foe that you think you can sort of talk your way through, you can give them something they want, maybe you'd have a way to, great way to intimidate or suggest against them, you can commit to that. Committing to it is risky, however. Right now, when the goblins show up, they don't know anything about you, and they can just attack, and you'll have a manageable combat, but it's going to be a hard combat. If you decide to co-opt them, and this is a decision you make right now, you say, no, we're going to try to talk to them as soon as they arrive. If you talk to them, you have a range of success. It's going to be a lot like when you talk to the kobolds. You're going to have a bunch of sort of skill checks and things that will have a range of outcomes. If you do very well, then you don't kill the kobold or the goblins. You actually have they orient themselves quite heavily towards your agenda. You basically kind of peel them off, and they become sort of semi-allies. Now they're not going to stop being goblins. They're not going to completely change their nature, but they'll largely follow your agenda instead of their own. There might be a couple red lines they don't cross, but they'll be largely manageable. That's if you really succeed. You might get in the middle, in which case, they're sort of tentative allies. They're not quite as hostile, so sort of an uneasy peace. If you don't do well, and it's very possible that just the way your dice go and your tactics and all that, you don't do very well, and maybe you don't have a lot of natural advantages against these goblins, you don't have a lot of great ideas to get bonuses to your rolls, or you don't have a lot of skills that might be for diplomacy that you think would be handy, then it's worse. They become empowered. Like they actually become they're still your foe, they're still just as dangerous as before, and now they know all about you and they're very confident, right? And they start becoming a nemesis. Like this group now really has it in for you and something really to fear if it turns out badly. You won't necessarily start fighting right away. You might decide to fight them right away, or they might like go off and figure out a way to really nail you later on. So if you try to co-opt them and fail badly, then your problem gets worse. If you decide to fight them, they will be tougher to fight than right now. So fighting them now is going to be easier than failing to co-opt them and then deciding to kill them anyway. So you see it's a bit of a risk-reward. Yeah? So quickly discuss amongst yourselves. Pretty much every time there's like a big sort of what I call Act 4, big set piece combat, you'll often get this chance, unless it's just no point, negotiating. This, maybe you'll have a chance. So discuss amongst yourselves whether you want to kill or co-opt the goblins.
Goblins attack my village. Let's kill them.
The greater picture, we want allies.
Yeah, I'm for co-opting because we know that they're only doing it to get machinery. We know they really don't want to do it, and we know what they're doing it for. So we've got an underhand advantage.
They know they're up for whatever elimination on elimination night. So we convince them that we can help them take them from elimination night, they don't steal the machines, and we have allies.
They're still
Because-
goblins, and they'll do it again
I think-
to some other
Okay, kill
village.
2 and co-op the others.
The thing is,
I like to have a
think
very
that
bold
they
choice.
actually
You're
have
going
a
all
point.
one way or all the other.
They were talking about how their forces were diminished, and they don't have a hobgoblin because he was killed last time when they were climbing back up. So their forces probably aren't that strong, and they're one of many clans or groups of goblins.
One of many
that
clans
we
that
could that we
we're
could
going to
co-opt.
fight later on.
Yes, but they're one of many, so there's no harm.
One of many that we're going to fight later on.
Yeah, so we need
I
to
would rather
make allies.
recruit allies.
Yeah.
One of
But
many
if
that
it
we're
doesn't
going to
work
fight.
out, I'm down for killing them as well. I mean, the elves are obviously our
We've
our
got
main.
the element of surprise, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Yes,
when
remember-
they walk in,
It's much better to kill them without trying to
We get
co-opt them
halfway
than to
through.
co-op
we're
and fail
going
and
to
then
have
kill
to
them. It'll be
kill
much harder.
goblins.
But we don't have to
later
kill
on as well.
these goblins, right? These goblins.
Eventually, we'll have to
might-
kill these ones as well.
Could we try and
Not really.
could we try
We're
and
going to have to
catch
kill
them?
all of the goblins, or they're going to have to retreat and go back to where they came from.
We ain't
If you want to
goblin
subdue
fire.
them, so if you
We
pick
ain't doing
combat, you can always choose to knock them out
Yeah,
as
subdue
part of
them
combat instead of
and
killing
then
them.
try and-
In which case, you're not really co-opting them; you're just basically imprisoning them
Yeah.
or enslaving them, I guess. And that's
You're a
always an
slave.
option. So you often have the option.
You're
to
a slave
just-
trader now.
And then we can talk
You
and
think
try and talk, and
I'm
then if
the
not-
bad.
Yeah, have you ever had
guy.
an
You
organ
guys-
harvested?
Well, if you're going to talk to them, it's better to talk to them before knocking them out. So if again, that'd be
That's what we
just
should
co-opt
do.
them from the beginning.
Sell
they're going to
them
be
their
less
organs.
conducive of seeing it your way if
We'll
you've
make so
already
much
attacked
money.
them.
Well, do we
I
want to
think
do
we have a
vote
great
for it?
advantage in this situation to set some traps or some
Mhm.
other
Yeah, you think you may have an hour or so? Yep.
We
that
do.
would really.
Yeah. Yeah, Emerald says like, oh yeah, those goblins, it's going to take them an hour to get here. I mean, I know they're coming and we got to get ready, but yeah, you got an extra hour or two.
Mhm, yeah. I'd rather have allies of the Elven village than I would the goblins.
Well, we're saving the Elven village and the goblins, so we might have 2 sets of allies.
Well, Gale is not convinced, and he says we should kill him. Even though he's a hippie druid, he's up for
Okay,
it.
last chance, we got to tighten this up, and it's great discussion. Keep wrapping up. Anybody,
No,
if
Fulham
anybody's
does not
leaning one
care.
way or the
She's
other?
like, either way is fine with me. I don't care.
Yeah,
You have to
Darwin
vote
doesn't
one way or the other.
We
sympathise
know
Need a
they're
vote.
with
coming
non-humanoids.
to destroy the village, so we know that we have to be aggressive initially when they come.
It's
but-
too similar to when they attacked my village, so my character's definitely.
You're like, nah, nah.
Yeah, remember, so this, I think as your character would, that's always great, as your sighting.
I had
And
to
it's
leave
great for you to
to-
disagree. It's
to
fine
try
for you to
and
disagree as characters. That's kind of part of the story.
May's kind of like on the edge because she's like, oh, she was starstruck about, the village, the Elven village in the first place, but she's also like, I was kind of once them. It's fine.
Anybody else want to sort of convince somebody, like say, I'm voting this way and this is why?
Just
You wanna
join the
convince them?
place that you know everything about.
Okay, no, let's kill the goblin.
I would just
Well-
like to try and give them a chance and just saying,
We've
hang
got you
off,
surrounded.
We've got you surrounded. Don't
Well, we've
don't
got the
murder us,
advantage.
and we'll let you get out. But otherwise, we'll annihilate.
But we're not going to go for that because we send them back with no machines.
Well,
They're going to
no,
kill it anyway.
because they could be our allies and they could stick around with us.
Okay, last chance.
Strength in numbers, guys. Strength in numbers.
It's a harder for us to sneak around those bad guys if we have goblins with us.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yep.
be associating with goblins.
And just the fact that
They
they
all
spoke
know.
about
Given the
Maguglia,
goblins
I'm just
know-
still not
The
interested.
goblins
in
are
anything
aware
to do
of
with
the
them.
terrain more than us, so we'll be able to move through the forest easier.
Yeah,
We have
We've
natural
just
weapons.
proven that we're very
The
good
wood
at
elves
that
would
too.
kill them.
Yes.
Okay.
I think these two
What
are
the-
going on pure emotion, and I think that we
Yeah,
won't be able to
they-
stop. So I think we're attacking.
Well, now we all agree before we take a vote that we will heed the group's vote. We're going to stay unified as a team. So whatever the majority votes, so and whatever side you're on, you're agreeing by saying I'm going to go with the way the majority votes. So we're going to about to take a vote. You're going to close your eyes and raise your hand. You'll see each other's votes eventually, but just to make sure that nobody I'm going to see how many votes go with that, right? So when I say vote, you'll close your eyes and raise, and I'll say on 3, raise your hand if you want to kill, right? So it'll be a vote to kill. If not, you're voting co-op. There's no neutral, So to not vote for kill means that you're voting to try to co-opt them. So you'll shut your eyes. I'll say 3, and you'll raise your hand if you're going to kill. Are you all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Close your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Keep your hands where they are. Now open your eyes. Everybody open your eyes. All right, majority to kill.
You're bloodthirsty.
They're turning into the village, and when they see the pitchforks and fire,
Okay, there we go. So,
You savage. And you guys think I'm the evil one.
So you're trying to get
You're trying to
goblin
save
allies.
the
That's-
evil
this is a
goblins.
high stakes combat. This is
Completely
definitely the
recount.
I'm
hardest
taking
combat
the
you've ever
higher
been in.
road,
But you know,
not
I think it's a perfectly good choice. All right, so we got that. That's already covered. I think we need to go to the break, and it's going to get to a cliffhanger. We're going to cross over, and we'll start the next session by continuing this combat. This is a real juicy one. And as part of that, you are going to help set up defenses because you did very well with your Nihilidel survival roll. You have advantage on these different rolls, but because 8 people on the table is a lot, you're going to be working in pairs in many ways. So, the pairs are going to affect you in 2 ways. You're going to be working as a pair on a particular defense that you agree on, so you're going to try to do a skill roll to do something to improve the defenses here in this village. Also, you're going to, when you're in combat, you're going to work as a pair in combat. So when you're in combat, it means the 2 of your tokens are always, you'll have the same initiative. You'll have the same initiative. This is just a thing that I've come up with to speed up combat with this many people. You'll always be moving. You're obligated to always end your turn, within 5 feet of your partner, right? So you'll be kind of moving around as a pair. And when you target something, you're basically going to be targeting a pair, right? So you can't separate 2 different things.
Oh my God.
It's going to simplify things a lot.
I get automatic sneak attack.
Well, that's true. Well, your ally, you have to have an ally next to your enemy, not next to you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna push Merv. Just a little bit closer.
So start thinking about who do you want to partner with. Remember, you're going to be kind of joined at a hip, or just imagine you're kind of like tied together. So it doesn't matter if one of you needs to have a tank with you. When they attack you as a pair, you say, "Look, I'm the tank. I'm going to choose to take this damage." So you basically can decide to.
Look at that one.
Each of us
You
squishy
guys-
We
ones
probably
should
want to have
take
the
a
tanks
fire.
be
So it's
split up.
better for the fighters to take a squishy
It's
one?
up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just what the rules are.
I
Yeah,
think
but
just
but
make
tank
one
is
Yeah,
squishy
Merv,
we
you're
want to
tank,
stay
go
at
green.
So
range.
figure out your
That's
pairs.
That's
just-
true.
go
That's
No,
true.
because
Which
we're
ones are
aiming at
great?
the
Well, you're a
same.
fighter as
Take
well.
a fighter partner,
We've got
'cause
fighters all over the place.
Yeah.
yeah,
I reckon
very
So are
fighters.
any of the fighters planning on using bows and staying at range?
No.
I will use my long bow.
Yeah, I would like to be in the trees and helping out the archers, and that's why I went reinforced.
I'm
So
gonna
I mean,
My
I'd
preference
love
would
to.
be
if anyone
my
wants
I
me
don't
up
wanna
in
be
the
up
trees,
close.
If you 2 are using bows, maybe you both want to be in the trees.
yeah,
Because as a cleric, you want to be more mobile so you can get around.
get shot by one, they're like, no, another one.
I have
I'm
bad
like,
dexterity, so I don't think.
yeah,
Skills
I
would
plan
make
on being
it
right
hard
in
to
the
the
Yeah.
first place.
Keep the cleric with a fighter so that he's
Yeah,
safe.
don't,
because you've got the
Drop
highest
out
AC
result.
too, don't you?
AC?
Yeah.
Just don't pay me with another magic user.
So I'll go with you. How about I just fight?
I'd
Do you have your pairs?
Can I-
go with the magic user.
Yeah, I'll go again.
And you're gonna
Everybody point to your partner. Point your partner.
I'm gonna be
Look at your
behind
partner and
Yeah,
point your
in the
partner.
figure
Make sure you give that we're all
So
done.
what's your name again?
Behind you.
Gowan.
Just as long as
Gowan?
I'm behind you.
Gowan.
Oh, okay.
Alright.
Sorry.
But you're
I'm
Player?
a fighter.
It's
I'm a
better to be
human
prepared to give me
fighter.
one of your good berries, because I've got one too, but if I
Well,
take too
that's
much.
the point of me
male
having
human
two.
fighter.
Because I can give you a
what's your character's
Awesome.
name?
Gowan.
Gowan.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
What's your player's name?
Gowan.
Gowan.
No, your player. That's Maria.
Oh, Maria.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So
Alright,
now you
yeah.
talked about sneak attacks. What you want to do is like you as a pair, like a unit, you're stuck together. So if you want to get sneak attack, you might want to talk to a different pair that like gets next to the enemy. So find like who's the pair that's going to be
Yeah.
tanking, getting in the face
I
of the
think
enemy,
we're
and you
tanking.
two might want to then use a bow at a distance,
Because
right?
you've
So you
got
want to have
good-
some
good
synergy.
Yeah, so
It sounds like you do because you're a bow fighter.
as well.
And
I've got a bow,
you're
yeah,
up
I've got a
front.
Yeah,
long
good
bow,
with
and
the
I've got a +7 advantage.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
Plus
actually
7
quite good
bonus
at
on
it.
it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, so we've got tanks, we've got range, we've got spell range, and then
Well, I definitely think, for
Tank.
me
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
Okay.
my whole thing is meant to target
We got the
an enemy that is attacking
tank
someone else.
spell cost
Or
anyway.
near someone else.
Okay.
Yeah, because then I get that automatic advantage on
There's a
sneak
goad
attack.
and run away.
So it's like I don't attack the people that attack
Don't run
me.
away, just
I
run
attack
away from me.
anyone else, pretty much.
Don't bring
So
him to
we
me.
need to have a high
Bring him close enough that I
visual,
can shoot
because I
them,
want
and
to be
then that's
far away so I can
Yeah.
just shoot them with a bow. 'cause
I'm
I've
the
got-
same. Yeah, I'm thinking if we try and like reinforce the archers,
Yeah.
and then we stay up in the treetops, and then both of
our
us we
reaction,
can
that happens when
we could
it's the
probably
enemy's turn,
aim for one
and
enemy,
they're attacking
one or
us,
two enemies depending.
and we react
Yeah.
to that attack.
You
right?
reacted to perform your
So
attack
if
of
my
opportunity.
sneak
yes.
attack doesn't hit, you can go for that enemy as well.
I've
Yeah,
used
he's reacting
that a few
for a bunch of
times.
If
Yeah.
otherwise, you can just go for different enemy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got.
There's more chance to talk tactics in a minute. Let me interrupt for a second.
I can dash twice as fast as normal as well if need be.
Yeah.
All right. So, first of all, hopefully you've executed your short rest. Now you're doing that over there. And as you do so, you are talking with the elves in Nyladel. The wood elves are quite gentle. They are very knowledgeable. If you like elves, you are an elf. You can read all about elf lore. They're very much in tune with nature. They know that probably their greatest strength is knowing this territory, knowing the land, and sort of knowing a deep history of what happened long ago. They hold stories, so if they become an ally of yours, if they survive, they will be very good at telling you, what happened in various places throughout history. So they're a great source of knowledge. They're hunters, but they're used to like fighting, shooting animals, and even then, they're like at least half vegetarian themselves. So they're fighters, but they're not like warrior types. During this fight, they will be defending themselves. They will be shooting goblins, but they're kind of off stage, so they're kind of mixed in. But I'm not going to put them and their goblins on there. Just assume they're sort of balancing each other out. You are going to be the key to winning this. If you don't do well, the Nyladel elves aren't going to do well either. So as you rest and you interact, anybody. Let's have 3 stories from on the table. If you feel like you have a special affinity with the elves, what's one sort of personal moment you might have with the elves that you think you want to share with the group? Anybody got something that they do with the elves that you think paints us a picture?
Elves like doing it on the break or like in the past?
Right now, yeah. So just as you're sort of socializing, you're resting and you're talking with them. Is there anything you do?
I would like to give one of my pieces of, actually both my pieces of Nidal silver jewelry to someone like a leader or someone who appears in this authority.
Now all of you
are the same, and like our speech is like as we hand it in, we're like these are your
because it's like where did you find this?
We're like these are your fallen comrades. If we were enemies, we would have taken them for ourselves.
Wow. Okay. Is there anybody who's saying like, no, I don't have any jewelry? Am I keeping the jewelry for themselves? All right, that's fair. This is a good rule. Good.
This is Nyladel jewelry. Nah, I give it.
Yeah. So raise your hand for keeping the jewelry for yourself. Yeah, I think Murr's pretty assessed. Mur's character's been pretty well established.
There wasn't Nyladel jewelry there.
I'll give one away, but I'll keep one for maybe future use.
So you do a bit half. Okay. All right. So most give new jewelry away. Wow. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that, and we'll build a story based on this, because they want to know, do you know where the body is? I imagine you say, yeah, we can lead you to the body. We can't do that right now. We're defending ourselves, but so these people have been missing, and it matches like the amount of time that the corpse is there. That's fantastic. Okay, so I'll get there. We'll want to see the corpse.
Delete Nyladel jewelry.
Yep, so remove your Nyladel jewelry, but you think you've really gotten a big edge on being an ally with them. You've really gotten a lot of respect. That's a very powerful thing you've done by giving up that wealth. Okay. Anybody else have some particular moment they want to share, or that as they're interacting with the elves that they think is a nice sort of moment that happens?
I was kind of, just kind of walking around the village in awe, staring at everything.
Yeah.
Until one of the elves came and was like, "What are you doing?" I explained that it's my favourite topic ever, and we were like reading about it. Like, would you like a tour?
Great, okay.
Like,
So May gets, May, you're in heaven. Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, we're packing the stakes in the ground, the fence is ready.
The first thing, this is during this short rest, by the way. So during short rest, it's an hour of light activity. So before you really get to work, you're just recovering a little bit. But this will bleed into the next set with setting up defense. So I do like that picture of sort of the tour.
I can understand Eldon, so I'm sort of getting ready, but listening into some of the conversations.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. This is also something we'll develop once the urgency is gone. Of course, you've gotten on their good side already, and this is something you can spend more time in Nyladel once you defend it properly. Yeah, so speaking Elven is going to be a big part of that. Great. Okay. Good. All right. I've drawn this map. Let me explain this a bit here. So these are 5-foot squares, and this is very small. It's a very vertical village. You want to have the minimum footprint on this area. So, maybe 60 live here, I believe I've written down. But a lot of them are in quite small quarters, and there are these massive trees in the middle that's what these trunks signify. But there's kind of like an oval, sort of not shown, this whole shape.
Is mirrored on the
Yeah, sort of mirrored on the other side. But the other side, the attack isn't, they're sure the attack is not going to come from the south side. They've been attacked by goblins before, and the goblins attacking this direction because this side is just, it's very thorny and rocky, and it's not the kind of places that goblins like to attack from. So they'll give you a hint about what to expect if the goblins use the same attack, and I'll explain what all these things mean. But starting from the center, this is where all the common living spaces and work areas are. There is machinery here. They're not an industrial society, but of course to process food, they do some invention. They make they're able to string weaponry, string traps and things like that. So they do have stuff to steal. There's quite a bit of and they're terrified of losing it because this really set them back. Last time the goblins raided them, several of them got killed. Most of the goblins want to take their stuff, kill you if you get in the way, but they don't go out of the way to kill people. They basically say, give me the stuff or I'll kill you. And if they put up any resistance, they get killed. If the goblins make it in here, so any goblin that kind of comes from the outside and gets in, you're not really going to be able to do anything about it. There's a lot of different rooms, a lot of places for goblins to hide. They can climb, and once they get to the center, just assume that they're probably going to kill somebody and they're probably going to steal something. So you don't want the goblins to penetrate to the center during this next part. This is an elevated walkway all the way around, and these are trees. These round dots are all trees. And the trees are completely untouched, so it's very carefully wrapped with rope. And you can tell the rope has been shifted around to not mark the bark, so these trees are as pristine as possible while still getting them off the ground, which is a lot safer. These walkways are 20 feet off the ground. There's rope ladders that go down to connect to the ground. Of course, they're going to pull those rope ladders up knowing that goblins are here, but you can choose, if you want to put rope ladders in a particular place, that might be your choice of how to build defenses. But of course, a rope ladder can be used by the goblins. These trees, however, all of their branches have been completely uncut, and somebody could climb these trees. Say, yeah, the goblins can climb these trees. One of you could use, well, okay, can we start lopping off limbs and stuff like that? You might choose, so each pair of you is going to choose one defense you're going to try to propose and enact, and that might be one that you choose, is to make these trees not so climbable. These walkways are very narrow. Even though you're elevated, don't expect to get cover from this. Rogues like to get cover, or people who like to get advantage like to get cover if you're using hide. If you're positioned near these trees, like there's a tree pretty much exactly between you and an enemy, you can have total cover from that enemy or two. And then you can have partial cover as you peek out and fire. So it's not impossible to gain cover, but you can't do it just anywhere in the walkway. You have to sort of use a tree as your cover. You can only hide if you're not visible to the thing you're hiding from. And only last a turn because all the other goblins can see you and they'll ruin your hiding. However, that's where the bushes come in down here. These are about 3 by 3 squares. It wasn't too exact. There's just bushes everywhere. Very natural bushes. These are not thorny bushes. These are quite pleasant, and they're also very natural, untouched. Some of them are herbal, and they like to farm from here. And in the center of each one, there's also trees around. There's a nice symbiosis. Like these bushes like to live underneath the trees like to live amongst the bushes. Wonderful balance of nature. So each of these dots is a tree trunk. Again, a totally untouched tree. These bushes, however, are about yay high, and they get quite thick down at the bottom. They say that, the elves say, the goblins, when they attack, they hide in these bushes, and then they can shoot us before we see them. Basically, in combat terms, they're firing with advantage. When something hides, and has got a high enough stealth roll that your perceptions can't see it, and this goes for you too, it goes both ways, when the monster fires at you, the goblin in this case, I roll with advantage for the goblins. I roll 2 d20s and take the higher of the 2. So it's very likely to hit. Some things do extra damage when they have advantage, like our rogue friend here. You're not sure if the goblins have that, but being fired at by hidden goblin is very dangerous. And there's lots of places to hide. The way these bushes are, they say they get in and they manage to vanish from sight, and then they get up and crawl around the bushes. The bushes are what's called lightly obscured terrain. So even though it's daytime, nighttime is even harder. So usually they attack at night. You explain these goblins, they need to get your stuff and get back before nighttime. That's why they're attacking during the day. So it makes it a little bit easier. But even in the daytime, they'll be able to stealth from bush to bush. Long story short, if the goblins are in a bush, they'll be able to quite easily achieve stealth. And if your perceptions are not, if somebody's perception isn't high enough to call out to the group, that goblin will be firing with advantage. It's a bit of a contest. Their stealth skill against your perception skill. You all are using what's called passive perception. Imagine it's like you're always constantly rolling a 10 on your die on a perception roll. So in order for them to hide at all from any of you, they have to have a stealth that's higher than the highest passive perception in the group. So I'll be asking who here has the highest passive perception or has the highest perception score?
I've got 13.
13 as well.
13.
15.
There we go. Good. 15 live so far.
Where do I find?
So it's
Yeah,
underneath
help each other out. If you don't, I'll help you out.
On the
But if you
first
can
Bottom
do
left.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I've got a bit of a question. Are there tracks still on the ground?
So before I answer that, anybody higher than 15? Perception higher than 15? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Are there tracks still on the ground? Just mentioning from them hiding in the bushes. I like their footprints and tracks like that because I got a permanent advantage on goblin tracks.
Oh, goblin tracks.
And
They
it's
haven't been
survival
here for a while. Yeah, so if they run away, that would be great to pursue them. And if you have no idea, you have an idea of which bush they went into, you can pretty much, you'll be able to see because of the gaps which bush they're going into. That won't be the tricky part. So it'd probably be more useful afterwards if they run away or something like that. Okay, so we got 15. So that means, thanks to this very, as long as this person, this is Gale, by the way. So if Gale is other occupied or dead or something like that, then we'll have to lower this. Unconscious, let's say. That means that a goblin, thanks to this, has to roll a 15 or higher in order to hide from you all. But the bad news is goblins are very sneaky. Okay, so that'll be something to keep in mind. These bushes are a risk. What else can I tell you before you decide, as your pair, how to try to improve things? I think that's it. Yeah, the goblins, they come from a few directions at once, and they climb these outer trees, and once they get in, then they steal, as I said, kill and steal.
So they're coming from.
They're going to come from that general direction, but they're not all going to be in a huge clump. They're going to scatter across.
Like a
The number of goblins you've counted so far is each of these is a pair of goblins, by the way. So you've got like massive numbers of goblins and a boss.
So we're
So you're going to see the boss, and you're going to see a lot of goblins coming at you. Goblins are all individually weak, but man, they can be numerous.
Do we have any? Have the elves kind of given us any advice in relation to
You're the adventurers, so
chopping the trees?
So you'll have to
or
commit to that.
clearing-
So
clearing out. If they
yeah.
said
So
don't
based
do
based on
that,
what I've said, you'll all commit as a pair. Say, okay, here's the one tactic. If you pick a tactic and say you're not allowed to do that, or we won't be your friends if you do that, then you'll have a tough choice to either not do it and you don't get a replacement action, or you say, well, screw it, we're going to do it anyway. So in your pairs, and you can move around or just talk to each other, decide how are you going to improve the map. What about this map can you change in the next hour that you think will make it better? You can use items. You might be able. There's ability to do some light construction materials, but you can't. It's not Fortnite. You can't build a gigantic tower in an hour, right? So it's fairly realistic. So talk to each other in your pair about what you want to do. Give me a minute for that. A couple minutes for that.
So we want to be close to
I want to know what that writing.
Yeah, you can always permanently sit next to each other if you want. Yeah, feel free to change.
Because there's a lot of space over here.
Yeah, feel free to change.
Covering.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of space.
I'm wondering whether one option is we could decide
If they choose
that when they come out of the bushes to try and get
60
in,
feet.
Yeah, that's right. Build defenses. Thank you,
climb up
Liam.
the trees and get into the.
So once they're too far away from us,
We only got a couple minutes, so decide quickly.
We're down, we're sort of down here, and we get them when they come out of
So why
cover.
Remember, it's one idea. The pair of you got one idea.
I was thinking,
But it does put us at
maybe we just
I've been shot at by quite a few archers. That's probably the downside.
but they might come from the side too.
The other option would be to.
Does that say 20? Oh,
We
20
can,
out.
if we stay in
20 feet up. This walk
Oh,
was 20
cool.
feet off the ground.
How close would those trees be?
Just
to each
high.
other?
These trees, wait.
Yeah,
How
So
close?
1, 2, 3. So they're 20 feet or just less than 20 feet.
We could
Yeah,
make
so,
a
that's
beeline
the
from
thing.
the
Cool.
If like the
wherever
goblins start moving,
And if it's a
Do we want
20
to
foot
have
radius,
try and move
wherever he
we can both dash and then we
make a
can
beeline for that.
So if we're like out of range,
So what are we going to
we can
do?
move around.
No,
We're not like
no,
that.
no, no.
we'll
We're not like
magically
stuck
scare
around
us.
Yeah, okay.
to help
And
us
then-
yeah.
in other
Yeah,
ways.
worst comes to
In
worst.
another minute, I'll be asking each of your ideas. Simulating the haste of pre-combat. And I know I'm not giving you much time, but this is the haste that you need to work with.
Guys,
So what can I add to
It's
that?
just trees,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
so.
probably.
Okay, so dig a few
But I'm fairly
That's gotta be
acrobatic.
like, I just gotta stop them from yelling
Yeah,
at
stop
us.
them.
I think like worst comes to worst, I'll probably attack like, I'll probably jump down and start attacking them if they start to get really close.
Yeah, because I've got a great sword with advantage.
Okay, less than a minute. Wrap up that last idea. The one idea that you agree you're going to do.
Yeah, like the table extends out.
So I'll probably put
I
one
have
of us here, one of us there.
Yes,
And then
that's
we
I put my phone
can,
there.
we can, if like they're all on
Okay,
time,
so if you can
one of us can move or both of us can
I
move
was
around.
thinking,
I think standing fan because I mean we've got like 60 feet, so that's like
I'll do that in combat.
Like,
Well,
do we know where, are you going to put us somewhere on the map that we don't know yet, or can we pick where we're going to be?
I think we
Yeah, so yeah, part of your decision is where do you start off, on the walkway or down the field. You can position yourself anywhere you like. Good idea. I did not
Narrow
mention
the
that.
area.
So
pick your
reach
spot.
up
They
to
can get, like,
like we got
here
pretty
and
good
stuff?
range, I'd say.
Like,
Yeah, but you can build a defense over here and then start over here. They, whatever defense you do
Because
doesn't
if
have
you
to be
want,
next to
we
that.
can build like, in case to get past
When you guys
everyone.
going to build something?
We're
Yeah,
gonna
well,
dig
yeah,
into
yeah.
we're
dig a
gonna-
pit.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll start with what we do, but then you think it had to be your position. Okay.
So like,
Yeah, because we're just putting ourselves like somewhere. So if
I'm
you
gonna get
think
all-
we should be somewhere specific,
We
that
have
helps you as well in weather.
well, like,
Let us
if
know.
Wait, we gotta stop there. We gotta stop there. I'm simulating the fog of war. All right. So you had to do this in haste. You're not able to coordinate very much. I'm simulating what it's like to have only a scant half hour to do this stuff. So that's why I'm cutting it off. So I'm gonna write down what you're committing to. Before I tell the results, I'm gonna get what you're committing to giving a try of before we say how they do. What pair has an idea?
just like around there.
But it's not what we think.
Okay, Derek and
So
who?
Miranda and I.
One of us.
And who? And Goblin.
Going, yeah, I get the names mixed up.
Yeah, Maria. Okay, great. What do you
Having like a
propose?
pit over here,
We are basically going to be in
so they can't get
trees
behind us,
to
yeah.
like
Not gonna work with
those two middle trees.
Uh huh.
Front here.
Yep.
Yep, those two.
Take both spots and kind of use it to hide.
Both equipped with our boats,
Yes. Okay.
and
Yeah.
hopefully, if we can, we could have a few ranged elves or something like. They could be leveling out the playing field up in the trees as well with us.
Yeah. Don't worry about the other elves. Just you have enough people just on
Yeah.
the field. So what you want to do is just sort of have an ideal place to hide, perhaps. So
Yeah, so we're
what
in cover
construction
behind
do you do?
those
You maybe
two.
like set up sort of like a natural looking sort of natural thing that you can hide in, like
Yeah.
a bit of a blind.
Yeah, so we're behind those two trees there.
Okay.
They're trees, right?
The
Yep.
ones at the back
Yeah,
over
the
that
tree
side.
trunks.
Yeah, tree trunks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but these are
Would you guys
some
choose
of the
different
bushes.
sides?
Well,
But if there are any
they're
branches,
bushes with trees in the middle.
Okay.
if there are any
Actually, yeah.
branches with like anything around, I don't know what height the branches start coming out at, but
Pretty
I mean,
low.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if there's any, then we can grab some of that. and-
Sure. What are you going to make this blind out of?
Bit
So,
of camouflage.
yeah.
some
Make
bush
camouflage. What are you going? How are you going to make it? You're going to. So what's
We're
your
going to
idea?
take some from the. Well, I'll take some from these bushes down here because I don't want to touch those trees because we're not allowed to because they're precious to
I
the
feel
elves.
like
Okay.
it doesn't matter which trees.
Yeah, and just put it like around maybe
Okay.
in front so
Right.
it-
So
got the
that's your
bow
plan. So you're gonna
ready to go.
you're gonna use the natural bushes here and harvest some of that to create some natural looking camouflage, to create a bit of a blind. That's
Yeah.
your proposal. Who's got a different idea?
Building.
We're going to dig some pits.
This is May. All right, so May
Minecraft.
and Myrrh.
Because he has an item that digs the pits for us, apparently.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
On my cloak.
Ah,
On my robe.
yeah. Myrrh puts on this beautiful robe that you've never seen him do. It's like a robe that has all these weird patches of different things on it. Like it looks magical and expensive. Like where did you get that, Myrrh?
Probably
He's
stole
a
it.
fashion
Stole
diva.
Steal it? I'm not a thief.
Picked it up but didn't give it back.
I might
Ah.
have, yeah, I picked it up
Some
somehow.
of these things
obviously.
that happened before the game starts have some interesting effects. Aha! So Myrrh
Yes.
somehow has ended up with a very nice magic item. And on that is what, a shovel or something like that?
Is that
No,
from
pit.
that one?
A pit,
Yeah, I placed down.
like a
this-
portable pit.
Yeah.
Okay,
portable
and there's
pit.
one. You get one of them. Okay, great.
I actually have two.
Okay, great.
So what do? You put it on the ground and it becomes a pit
Yes.
underneath.
Yeah, it's like a portable
Two
hole.
cloaks.
I have
Is
one
your idea
for-
that you're
for
going to
this
try to
companion.
cover it to make it a trap, or it's going to be something that they'll see and then need to go around?
See and need to go around.
Yeah. What is the size of the pit? Does it say?
10 by 10.
Okay, great. Wow.
Not walk into and fall into and die.
Like around here to block off this area.
Yeah, they'll need to go. So think about where to place it, but we'll go to the next pair. Okay, another pair.
I've got a question for you guys. You've chosen over that side in those two trees to hide.
One there and one there. Yeah.
Is
Oh,
it-
those middle ones.
Mm,
Yeah,
just middle
it's
ones.
all
Is it
different.
possible to choose a different? So
No,
are we,
they've taken the front ones.
cool.
So we
Are we
can-
together and within 5 radius of each other, or are you guys spread out?
Spread. So there's one there.
If you're a pair,
And
you
there's
have
one
to
there.
always stay within 5 feet of each other.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So when, which tree do you need? Do you
I want the
cover-
two over there because I want to cast spiked growth.
All right,
underneath.
we'll
Yeah.
go on. We'll go
Yeah,
on
you'll
that,
pick. Yeah, you
that
should probably
then.
pick one of these. Good
Yeah.
point. Okay, great. Yep.
Cool,
Fine,
so-
yep.
And we can cover you guys for
We're just shoulder buddies.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah.
So I've got a cool spell where I can cast Spike Growth,
Yeah.
and I can actually have really dangerous and damaging thorns at a 20-foot radius, and I want to do it in the middle of the 2 trees on the far side from me.
Over here?
Yep.
Yep, okay. So that's a tactic you do in combat rounds because it only lasts a short amount of time.
It's 10 minutes, so I do it just as they turn
Ah,
up, or
yeah,
just
okay.
before, when we can hear them but can't see them, so they can't see me cast it.
Right, okay, yeah. So I think what your accomplishment is, like, you send out a scout, so like when you see the goblins coming, you know, call back so you get like that extra round to get ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so and that is the 2 of you. Okay. So the skill roll here is going to be based on, like, you know, conveying to the elves, you know, how to scout and can go back to you. Great. Dell.
But maybe
So get a
there's a
lookout
pit over there, and there's
to tell me when
you
to
know,
cast.
spiky growth over here. It's kind of channeling them towards the centre.
Okay, what's the 4th pair doing?
We'll pretend that we came up with that idea.
What's the 4th pair doing?
Well, because we're sort of tanky and also our armor's quite good, relatively speaking. We thought we'd be the ones to protect. If anyone came out of the bushes, you know, and was aiming to get up the trees, that, you know, we'd be the ones to sort of prevent that from happening.
Yep, sure.
But if you guys have put a portable hole over the pit over there and then sort of partially blocked this, it's likely to funnel.
Yeah. Remember, these aren't
goblins.
walls that they could walk under and this, but that's all fine.
But they have to go
funnel.
around. So
Yeah,
it's
they have to go
like a
around.
sort of funnel. So we sort of thought we might position ourselves more to the centre there.
Sure,
to
sure,
take
that's
us.
good. Is there something you construct or do or you know, do with the villagers or to the environment to sort of, you know, change the battlefield a little bit? Because that's a good tactic and that's a great place to position. Is there anything that you do as a pair that you change, like some of these other things have changed the battlefield in some way?
Do you guys have like
Could hide under this board. Inside.
Do you guys have like a horn or something that you could use to like intimidate the goblins?
No, we don't.
You could turn into a spider, but that's his ability.
No, we didn't. Honestly, we didn't get anything particularly constructive.
All right, that's fine.
Let's just be honest.
Okay, that's fine.
Just
That's
like,
fine.
hey,
All
over
right.
here.
Okay, great. So.
That's going to be full tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we'll use is that choose one of the other 3 things. You'll give them a +2. Okay. So of these 3 schemes, which one do you want to help out with? Giving them a +2 on the roll. Making the camouflage by moving the bushes on the trees to one of the trees.
Which is the
laying
most
down 2
physically,
portable 10 by
which is the
10
most
pits.
physically, you know, exerting one?
Most physically?
Yeah.
I'd say. Perhaps the lookout, because you'd want to sort of build a sort of
maybe we help you with that. That would
stuff?
make more sense, probably. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's magic and it's
So +2
Magic.
from
And putting cloaks down.
Magic
So,
and
yeah.
magic.
We'll help you with the camo.
Okay, great. From Tulip, yeah, and Archie. Okay. Okay, so here's how those things play out. There'll be some rolling involved. Some of the rolling I'll do hidden because I'm going to create a DC that you don't know how solid it is until the goblins test it. Some things will be obvious. So some of you move out to you know, start harvesting the bushes. The elves like, well, no! You don't touch. You can't. Don't cut the bushes. No, nature. No, you can't do that. And Merle's like, I'm sorry, y'all, but no, this is supposed to be untouched. We only take just a very minimal. You're gonna cut these things down. Oh no, that's a real problem. So unfortunately, the Nylid Elves' great attention to nature is a factor here. If you want to cut the bushes to make the camouflage, you have a choice. You either give up on that idea, or you can say, look, this is war. You'll take a negative to your relationship with the Nylid Elves to do it anyway.
I would rather give up on it because I still like have a good thing of sneak, so I'm able to hide in trees pretty well.
Well, we do have a trunk to hide behind, but it would be sensible for the fact that, you know, they could lose so many lives for just a few branches that we throw back anyway.
You try to make that argument, but they seem very rusted out. This is part of the argument that is part of the relationship damage that can happen if you do it anyway.
That's all right. If they feel that they want to keep them, then I'm happy to.
They have any like pre-cut branches over
They're home, it's their home.
Yeah, don't hurt their saplings.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll give up on that one. May and Myrrh. They love the idea of pits. It's like, oh, it's you know, like digging pits is okay if you fill it in. It's like, oh, you don't have to fill this in. It's like these things, you know, it just lifts up. You spend some time demonstrating to them, and like, you know, their arcanists come in. They sort of like make sure the flowers underneath aren't, you know, damaged too much by laying it on top. And this is sort of what takes the time. So it's convincing them about that. And the amount of time it takes to convince them might sort of change how effectively, you know, they're done. So let's just do a roll. You're going to do persuasion, yeah. So each of you roll persuasion.
Persuasion.
I'm
Oh,
-1.
Yeah.
We'll take the average between the two. About
average. We're taking an average.
take the average between the two.
Big one.
You got a 20 again.
No, 12 and 13.
Oh, not bad. Okay, so what are your results?
12.5 minus
Yeah, plus
my
zeros?
1.
Yeah.
Minus my 1,
Minus-
11.5. And
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll think about that one. So let's call it 12. Yeah, 12 was the result. Persuasion. Okay, good. All right. And then getting the lookouts to say you want to cast spike growth at the right time so it doesn't run out for this battle. And Tulip and Arch, you're going to do that and try to set up and train them basically with a kind of a network. Is there a particular skill that you think would help get the elves to do this with the necessary precision? You know, to not tell you too early or too late? Maybe survival is something.
Survival's +3 survival.
Yeah. Okay. So so each of you that are helping, you roll survival. You have to make a DC 15 in order to help. So go ahead. You roll survival.
No. Sorry.
What?
Yeah. No, I didn't
Not
do
enough?
that.
And yours?
Yes, 11.
Oh, okay. So you try to help, but you're not going to get the plus from them after all. Now, those you two doing this? You're doing survival? Okay, so we'll take the average of your two survivals without any help from these two, yeah. You're... all right. Okay, fantastic.
So
Well done.
25.
25, very good.
So
Okay. So I'd say training
17 and a half.
Nylodel lookouts. So this is something that you have a permanent advantage on. You have a real way of talking with them. Maybe it's your druidic nature or whatever else. But if you're going to work with them in the future about how to establish a good lookout network, they really respect you. You've got a permanent advantage on that. And you rolled as well, yours?
10.
A 10? Okay, but the average between that is like a good solid, what, 50, what's it, 25 and 15?
25.
18 is the average? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
18.
Okay. Great. All right, good. We'll have a chance to get a few good rounds in before we get to a bit of a cliffhanger, and we're going to start. Now start deciding as a pair, position yourself on the map. These goblins are not actually in these actual positions, but hopefully you don't want to actually put yourself on this part of the map. So, put yourselves there as a pair.
Wow.
Nope, that's actually, so you can move this around if you need to. So feel free to move it around as long as we move to the center afterwards.
You're really number 1,
Yeah.
and I'll put you on top of me.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So your whole pair has a particular number. So we have numbers 1, 2, 3.
Cool, I'll
This
choose
is
my little
us?
thing then.
Yep.
This is
Yeah.
us.
This will be us.
Yeah, just remember within your pair what it
Okay,
is.
so what do you want to be?
1, 2, 3, and F.
Is it choosing one for us both to do?
Do we
You
choose
want to be
one?
further
go.
out?
Yep.
First
So choose one spot. So basically put your two chips right next to
wanna
each
go
other
Slide
chips
on the
right now.
walkway or
Right.
anywhere you like.
Yeah, right, yeah,
Here-ish?
So
You guys gonna
Like
be
on this
down?
side of the bush?
Yeah,
So,
we're
like,
on the
these guys
ground.
Because that you'll be in
If
spikes.
everyone's
Yeah.
close,
Right there?
we don't
Yeah,
want to
that'll
be
be
away
spikes.
from them.
What about there?
So
It'll
if
be
you
like
have
a
a-
big
Oh,
circle.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rowan,
And
put
we'll
your
be
much
running
second
in the
ship
bush
there.
or
Yeah.
outside the
How about
bush?
your second ship?
In
Your ship as
So-
well.
Oh no, this whole thing,
Yeah.
this
tried
icon
to-
represents
Are
both
we-
of us.
No, sorry,
It's
not
both of
not
us.
the
Because
Archie.
we've got bows, right, so we can cover you from above, but we
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to cover you if you're too close.
Just pop your second ship there as well,
Oh,
so
two-
he knows
two
you're there.
Are we 2 chips or 1 chip?
Put your two chips together.
here, you'll be
Just
able
put
to
your
stand.
number next to the pair of
Our
chips.
circles
So you only need one number that symbolizes your pair.
Yeah.
So it's a 20-foot radius.
I don't
It's
have
actually
my
quite
dice
big. I
on
wanted
my
to block
So
off
you-
that whole side of the
What
board.
else?
So
Gonna
like,
be
Room
3?
on map, do we?
Yep.
I'll be writing down. We'll be rolling some actual initiative. It'll be an average
Yeah,
of
'cause we
your
can cover you
initiative.
from
That'll be
above.
fun.
Want to use one of his launches
Is
as
that
well?
you?
Or-
Assassin's
Alright,
Creed
so-
style.
I was
Right.
gonna go with
I don't know, it's up to him.
The far one or the close one?
You should have brought my.
Hang on, I have
I've got
stairs.
one.
I've got a bunch.
So
Yeah.
last
Plus
chance to decide
7.
where you're putting yourselves.
+7 and my sword is +4. So I've got both.
Seven's huge.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
biggest on the table.
yeah, I'm good with the bow.
Warriors.
Yeah, I should have proficiency with the
That's good. That's good. Okay.
short bow.
Pick one.
Longbow might be actually too big.
Oh, this guy.
That one? Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Everybody's got their
And
positions.
and where's the one
Yep.
gone?
Yeah, make sure you got the number 1. Was there this way?
Oh,
Was the
there it
one?
is.
There it is. Yeah, put the number 1 by the pair.
We've got to have.
I don't see a number here. What number are you? 2, 3, 4. F stands for 4.
Sure.
And can you put a 2 on
2.
those two?
Okay. And again, this is a little more restrictive, but with 8 people, this combo will take absolutely forever. It'll help speed things up because you remember you're always targeting a pair of goblins, the same pair that are next to each other. So the goblins have to act the same way. Very good. All right. Now, each of you in the pair roll your initiatives and think of the average. You do some math. You figure out the average of your 2 initiatives. So remember, it's a d20 plus your dexterity bonus.
Oh, a natural 20.
No,
That
unfortunately
help
doesn't.
this time.
This time it doesn't help, but
Well,
it's a nice
23.
high number.
23 plus 11, so that's 30.
Got a nat 23, so
So that's
Plus
22.
7.
Divided by
Let's take the average
plus
up to
7.
2, please.
Yeah.
So you got 27?
Right.
27.
You're good.
So 30, so 15. 15.
I got a natural 20 plus 7.
Oh wait, so my
Oh, for
initiative is 6.
Initiative.
Mine
It's not, oh, okay.
Minus
Where's the
6.
initiative?
Right at the top.
You do
Top
it.
in the middle.
Is it 22?
Oh, 3.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 23.
Minus one.
So 23
Oh, it's
Yeah,
plus
plus 7.
6, so that's 29.
Divide that
So we
by
got 15.
that makes more sense. Yeah, 14.
14
25.
Yeah.
Yeah, drop all
We did the
fractions.
same.
So 15.
Dropping
14 and a half
fractions.
is
Okay.
Down or up?
Keep it moving
Down.
up or down?
Yeah,
Okay, so
drop all fractions. Okay. So pair
down.
number 1. What is your average initiative?
14.
Down, okay.
14. Okay, I'll put you up here. I'm not sure of the order.
Round down.
So
15, 'cause I got a nat 20.
pair number
Yeah,
2.
20.
Who's pair number 2?
That's us.
Yeah. What's your
14.
average?
14.
14. Okay. So
What's the nat 20 mean?
representative. Well, who got the nat 20? What have you got nat 20? We'll put you above. So top 2. You're at 14.1 because that nat 20 got you that one. Okay. Who's pair number 3?
No, we have pair
That's
number 2.
We're 3. Yeah, sorry.
So we got 14.
Yep.
Pair number 2 got 14. No nat 20.
And pair number 1 got 14 without it.
Pair number 2.
Go.
Just 14, no nat 1.
Yep. So it's pair. So we've just done pair number 1 and we've done pair number 2.
Yeah, we're just 14, no, not 14.
We didn't get a nat
They
20.
switched them.
Oh, I see. Okay. So we'll call that. We'll still pick you up there. Okay. So 2 comes before 1. Pair number 3. What was your average net?
That was 14.1, yeah. 'Cause we got a nat
3 of you got 14.
No, we got 14 together.
They
They
mixed it
got a
up.
nat 20, so
Yeah.
So who is pair number 3? Raise your hand if pair number 3.
Us.
Okay. What is the average of your 2 initiatives?
It's 14.
So we've got 3. Pair number 1 average 14. Pair number 2 average 14. And pair number 3 also average 14.
Yep.
Okay.
But pair number
they're
3
different.
got a nat 20 in that. None of
Okay,
the other
sure.
ones did.
That's just okay. It's fine. Okay, 14.2. Bizarre. Pair number 4.
17.
Hey!
One of us got a nat 20 as well. One of us got a
Oh,
nat 20
holy
as
cow!
That don't even
well.
matters.
So, if that
All right. Well,
helps.
it's all crammed up to the top. This is initiative order. So we'll have pairs 4, 3, 2, 1. Quite easy in
That's
initiative.
fine.
All right. When the goblins go is something that I'll be filling in as we go.
Do last night.
He was like pair number 4, and I was like, is
So
that
I've
me?
rolled the
Four?
initiative for
Then I
them.
realized we had a
Is that a
number.
vial or
Wow. Okay.
Really nice.
I
This
let
is,
you down.
I've got parry.
Openers. All right.
That's right, I'll hit them and
But that's just an initiative, right? So what's initiative?
So,
who attacks.
and we'll get stuck in.
Oh, we just do.
So this is
I mean,
another
it's got
big
90-foot range.
crunchy.
And then 6
This is a big crunchy by the book combat. So unlike your cinematic combat, it's exactly the rules is written, exactly the spells is written. So this is where we're more like a board game or a war game. I, like in a war game, I've got a certain number of points that the formula told me to array to give you a hard but winnable fight, and I'm going to try to kill you, right? I'm going to go at you as hard as possible.
You're not going to make pony blows.
This combat teaches a few useful tactics. I like to have each combat in these season 1 sort of expose a few new things. This one is what you do when enemies are using stealth and cover, using stealth in particular. That means that you're going to want to learn holding an action. So on your turn, you can do something called a held action, which says I'm not going to do something now, but I'm going to commit to shooting at the next goblin that I see, or the next goblin that I see over here. Right? Try to pick an area and where you're going to fire. I'll explain that as we go. How do you deal with that? All right. So we've got goblins, and we've got a boss that's going to show up. I understand that. Talked about the elves being off stage. That's fine. And we talked about the bushes. Here we go. So the lookouts come back. I'm going to see whether the lookouts mess things up or not. So it's the intent. So the I'm going to roll whether the timing is going to work out. But you've done well enough that I'm going to tell you here. So let's see. This is how well you've trained it, based on what you've rolled before. Okay. So the elves are smart enough to follow your directions, and they get the timing right. The lookouts have told you, thanks to your good work, and you get to cast that spike growth, knowing that it'll last for the whole combat. So where do you put that spike growth?
So in the middle between the
Just
two.
try to draw it yourself if you would. Good. Pull it over and then just push it back into place when you do. So just go and draw. Here, I'll use a black pen.
It's like swirls to represent us who's in the pit.
Okay. So we're going to put the centre, like, in this one?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yep.
Or here?
Yep.
Yep, that's good.
It was 20 by 20, you said? Or,
Yeah.
Yep.
20-foot radius, so
20-foot radius. So you pick an intersection, yeah, and just go in a 20-foot radius around there.
Oh shit, this big.
we wanted it to be at the base of both
Yeah,
trees.
yeah, that's right, great. Yep, that makes sense.
So that's all spiked area.
Yeah,
that
give me that pen, that's
people
great.
will take damage if they enter into.
All
Does that
right.
include the players though? Because people are in there.
Well,
We're
up
above.
on the-
Oh, after the tree, I can never mind. We're good then.
Okay, yeah, so you two on the ground, look out. Okay, great. Are you two up above?
Yes.
Yes, great, awesome.
So now the goblins can't climb those two trees without taking damage.
Very good, okay.
Spiked growth.
Is that
Spike will take
concentration?
that up. It is concentration.
So yeah, remember every time you take damage, you have to roll a Constitution saving throw, otherwise the spike growth goes away. And that's a DC 10 by default.
Constitution, is it? Okay.
Constitution saving throw. Okay. So that happens, and now we get properly into initiative. That means that we are on pair number 4. So all I'm going to do to trigger it is when the goblins show up. All right.
Yes. So do we get to put it put down?
Pit.
The pit, yeah, sorry, yeah. So where do you put the pit ahead of intent?
Yeah. So it was in the soul zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, draw out the pit with
10 by
black.
10 by 10. So
10 by 10 pits.
yeah, that's 2 squares, right?
Yep, 2
10.
squares. Yep.
So we would started here maybe,
Yeah. Just to block it so they have to.
like that, and does that look correct?
It's 40
That's fine. Yeah. It's 10 by 10.
10 by 10.
So like that. I thought you meant like 2 squares with 10 feet.
No.
No.
Oh yeah, so like that one then. So cool.
Okay, great.
That's the first one, right? The second
Yep.
one.
Just make it so they have to.
So like one there, one there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe.
I've got
Cool.
the second one.
That's all right.
Yeah, push them to our side or to the middle. That's good.
Okay, good. Fantastic. And we'll say these are touching, right? So yeah, so it's go and then make clear they're touching. Okay, great. Have to hop over in the middle. That's nice. Okay, and your goal there is to make it so that it's very difficult for it to come from that direction. Okay, good. Initiative officially starts when the enemies are aware of each other, generally when they see each other. So, when you see the goblins, they haven't run into the bushes yet because some of you have a higher initiative. So, they're running from bush to bush, and their stealth is going to be a factor. So, this is where I start doing this bit. I'm going to roll them all with the same stealth.
So we see one what's the
So they come in, but before you're able to react, they have a chance to. They've been stealthing from bush to bush. So I'll start them on the very edge. So you'll know where they are. I am rolling their stealth. Okay, so I'm writing down their stealth. You won't know what their stealth is until you try to exceed, but it is higher than that 15. That's that passive that I talked about. So their hide is better than that. And that is the white ones. I'm going to do the same thing with yellow. So where the white ones come in is they've moved into this bush. If I put them in the center where the tree is, then you know that they're in that bush because you didn't see them emerge, but you don't know what square they're in. They're basically invisible to you. If something covers that entire area, you know you'll hit them. And if you guess at a square, then you have a chance of guessing correctly. You can just basically fire into the bush anyway. That's very difficult. This is where held actions might come into place. We'll get to that when it's your turn. So, there's one set of goblins hiding in that bush. The next set of goblins does not do so well. These are the yellow ones. They make a lot of noise as they come in. I put the boss down as well. So you know where they are. They're trying to be stealthy. They're lightly obscured, but they are not able, so you can see them basically plain as day in this bush, say in the middle there. The goblin boss, by the way, has got some bodyguards, that's right.
The boss is a yellow, is he?
The boss is the skull.
Oh.
So this goblin boss you've seen before is burly. He or she. He's been on the older side and quite burly. I'm going to roll a very important stealth roll to open up with him. Ooh, he does not do well either.
Hobgoblin then? The boss?
No, he's a goblin boss. So he's like that torturer. He's still a small creature, but he just looks a lot tougher. He's got much better armor. He's very well armored compared to the goblins who are not. By the way, if we can pull up the picture of the goblins, please do. If we got a picture of the goblins, Liam, we'll entertain with that. But he is also visible.
Awesome.
So he's along with that. What's that for? Oh, that's just to use later.
Yeah.
Okay. But he tries to be stealthy, but again, you are able to call out where he is. If one person has a higher perception than the hide, is visible to everybody. It kind of simplifies the way hide works, but that's the way I'm interpreting the hide rules. So that's good news. Those are actually visible. The next and last set of goblins, the brown ones, they are invisible to you. That is, I can do math. Okay, so I've written down what their stealth is. On your turn, you can use your entire action to roll perception, right? So your perception, your passive perception is a 10, as I said before. And it's like you're always rolling 10s. But if you take an action, you can roll whatever your stealth actually is. So if you your perception actually is. So if you roll very high, you can beat their stealth, and they'll become revealed just like these are. So these are all stacked up here.
So we can do them first.
Just yeah. Thank you. If you stack those up this way.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how basically the battle starts, but they're not. They basically been moving closer and closer, and so you see them, but they start off stealthed. But they haven't attacked because it's not their initiative yet. Are you ready? Number 4, so pair number 4. Your go.
Ranged attack, I think. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you can fire through. You can't fire through the trees very well, but don't worry too much about the trunks. We won't worry about cover. They'll slow things down too much. You can see through these bushes, so yeah, they are just open targets, basically.
What do you reckon?
The boss, however, is behind a tree, you might notice, so he has got cover.
So does one of our actions count as the action, or just?
So you each take your own turns, just that you act. Just the pair. One person the pair acts, and the other person the pair acts. You can change up your order anytime you like. You just have to end your turn in the same. It's still glued together. If you move, the other one has to move to catch up to.
What's the distance to where they are?
You can count it out by squares. So these are 5-foot squares. Let me move this in the center. Liam, do you need this in the center? Is that good there?
110-ish.
I think we should
110.
We can range forward a little.
Oh, that's what the goblin boss, the goblins and goblin boss look like. See, the goblin boss is very well armored. They're small.
But we have to stay together.
The height of a child. Okay, great. Thank you, Liam.
Your heads to count on.
So we're coming up here.
We can see the yellow.
Okay, we'll keep combat moving pretty fast, so we'll just get a couple things going.
Yeah, I think we should just go.
If you go 20, and I'll go in front of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That way.
I mean, much easier to just take it out, and they have to move and get close to us anyway.
And just move mine in front of
No,
it.
I want to take a shot. But how far have
Okay.
we got? We've got one.
Good. So you've moved. Now remember, you can fire and then move, or move and then fire. You can even move, fire, and then do the rest of your moves.
That yellow is visible?
Yeah.
Yes, the yellows are visible. Just imagine they're just
Okay.
as
So
ordinary.
it's 11 squares.
Really
It's
lightly
5 foot each,
obscured.
So 11. It's
I know what
55.
I'm
We've got the
55.
range.
Yeah, we got 60 feet.
So this is number 4. So what are you doing?
Just
number 4?
Oh, 150.
I'll take the opportunity to
Yeah.
use my longbow.
Okay, great. So pick. You're going to pick basically a pair of goblins there.
I'll pick the number 2.
Okay, number 2. All right, first shot.
17.
17 hits the average goblin, so you get to roll your damage against one of the goblin pair.
9.
Oh, no,
A 9. A 9 kills one of the goblins outright.
Plus 3.
Okay.
Fantastic. One is dead. So now this pair is, there's no longer a pair. So one of the pair is dead. The other of you pair have to fire at the other of the remaining pair.
Okay, so I'm going to use Sacred Flame.
All right, do Sacred Flame. So it uses a saving throw, I believe. So dexterity saving throw, isn't it?
We'll take 1d8 radiant damage.
Yeah, if it doesn't save, what is your spell DC? So what number do I have to roll? So this is part of your spell DC. Remember, goblins take saving throws just like you do. All right, so I've rolled its dexterity. I've done a d20 of its dexterity, and it got an 18, which is higher than your number. So the Sacred Flame pops off, but it dives out of the way and is undamaged. That was pair number 4. Pair number 3 is next.
We're going for, gonna use both our longbow and shortbow to fire.
Okay, yeah, you can move before or after, but which one are you going to fire at?
Might go for, I think I'll probably go for 2 again.
Okay, go for number 2. Okay, yep. That means you have to stack all your damage on, well, it won't be ridiculous, but yeah.
Okay, that's a 16.
A 16, yes! So its armor is quite good, but you manage to get a gap in its armor, and your arrow sinks in. Roll your damage.
Do we have any advantage on sneak attack, or...?
Okay, so you haven't taken an action to hide yet, so there's nothing to give a sneak attack. Sneak attack is you've got an ally next to it.
Yep.
Like these people can become allies. Or if you have advantage for any reason. You can get advantage by first hiding and firing from a hiding position, but you need to take it. Yeah, you need to take the action to hide to do that.
Okay. All right,
so next time, remember that. You can take your, you can actually take a bonus action to hide. You know what? We're still learning. So let me tell you how you can do exactly what you want. As a rogue, I want to give you that power. You have a bonus action in your position here, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I've established that this tree can provide total cover. So you can hide back here, right, with respect to number 2. And then you can sort of peek out from the side, so you've got cover that allows you to maintain your stealth. I say I have to peek out on this side because otherwise they're shooting through a couple of tree trunks, right? So you go over there, you've hidden, that was your bonus action. You move a little bit, you take your action to fire. Now, because you're hidden, you have advantage against number 2. So you get to roll twice, take the higher of the 2.
Okay, so roll again.
Mm-hmm.
That was 11, so that was 16 total.
Yeah, and best way to roll with advantage, try to roll 2 dice at once and just tell
Still
us.
16.
Still 16. Okay, 16 does hit it. Do your massive damage. You can do, because you had advantage, you get sneak attack damage against number 2.
Okay, cool. So that was shortbow, 1d6, d6.
Square.
This one?
And we'll start thinking about pair number 2. No, sorry,
so
the second
that's
one in pair number 3. What are you
and the sneak attack again. And that is 5, 9.
9. So 9 damage total with the sneak
9
attack.
total.
Kills number 2. Good job. Some massive damage. All right, lots of goblins, but you can tell they're relatively weak. You haven't dealt with the boss yet. Now the other one in the pair, you get to take your action as well.
So I'm going to just sneak in behind the trunk again as well and pull out my longbow.
Yes, now, he's a rogue, so he can, as a bonus action, hide. You need to use your entire action to hide, and then you also need your action to attack. So you're not quite as flexible as a rogue as at sneaking. However, you're very good, you've got a better bonus on your longbow. So you can just shoot with your longbow, and I think that's a great way to go.
Okay, I am going to take, I suppose this one's the closest one to me, but I could probably try and scare the boss with the back one. But yeah, this one here, I'll take the one.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, the one's in front, so you're going for target number 4.
Yeah. And I got a 9 plus 7, so 16.
16, fantastic. That bonus really kicks in. You're very good at the bow. And so, yes, a tricky shot, and it seems to know that it's coming. Your circumstances weren't great as the dice showed you, but you managed to do your damage. Roll your damage against one of the goblins, number 4.
Oh, I only got one.
Yep, it won, but you'll probably be adding something, so plus 3.
Plus 3,
because
yeah.
you add your dexterity bonus that. Okay, 4 damage wounds one of them. So that's why I flipped them over, but not kills it. More damage is likely to kill it, though. And then for those of you who are budding DMs or whatever else, when you have hit points this low, I basically just have one state wounded or dead. So unless you do more than its hit points, if you do more than hit points, I'll kill it. I'll take it off. If you do less than its hit points, I don't write down what hit points are. There's too many to keep track of. I just flip it over to show this wounded, this bloodied basically, and I know that any more damage will kill it. So it makes the goblins act a little bit like what we call minions in version 4. It's just a good way to deal with a massive number of monsters. That's all to say that number 4, any damage against number 4 is almost certain to kill it.
Okay, makes sense.
1.
All right, that was pair number 3, I believe. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. Good news, pair number 2. The goblins are slower than all of you, apparently. You all get to make your moves before the goblins go, and hopefully we'll get to that before we get to 9 o'clock. So, let's go number 2.
Okay, so we are going to move over to here.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to, well, I'll shoot first with my Ray of Frost, aiming towards number 4.
Okay, number 4. Do that Ray of Frost. Do your roll. What do you think you're doing?
It's a 9 plus my spell bonus, isn't it?
Yep, 9 plus spell bonus.
So 14.
14, it dodges barely out of the way. It hits the it hits the armor. The armor freezes across it, but is not enough to get through the armor that it's got. So you have a pretty good idea what its AC is. You're going against its AC. Unfortunately, not with your Frostbolt. Okay, your partner.
It's got 15, yeah.
Okay, so I am going to.
Or you can do the bow, and then next round have you.
Shoot frostbite at it.
Okay. All right, frostbite. Tell us what that does. And this is against target number 4.
So against target number 4. So it's of course numbing frosts to form on one creature that you can see within range.
Yeah.
The target must make a Constitution saving throw.
All right.
On a failed save, it takes 1d6 cold damage.
Okay, so it tries to resist. It rolls only a 9, which I believe must be lower than your spell
13,
DC.
yeah.
All right, so do your damage. Frost
and
damage
it
against
has
the goblin.
disadvantage on the next weapon attack roll before the end of its
Ah, please do remind me of that.
I will. That is 5.
5, but you kill it.
Okay.
So don't need to worry about his disadvantage. Okay, so I'm just taking away the bottom part from his pair, so now there's only 1 left in the pair. Good job. And if you're moving around the map, feel free. Now, pair number 1, what you gonna do?
I think we should just.
Oh, sorry, is it us?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
Pair number 1.
You go first.
Yeah. So, I'll get my longbow out, and I'm going to shoot at probably number.
I think 4 is
Yeah,
pretty.
4 is pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
number 4.
Okay, number 4, longbow against number 4.
That went ages.
You sent it my way, I'm like.
So, the damage that you roll, all dice get rolled twice. That's the great thing. It's a guaranteed hit. So now we're also you roll a damage, and yeah, show me what your damage is.
So 1d8 plus
Yep.
3.
So you roll 2d8 plus 3.
Awesome. And so they're combined?
Yes.
Cool.
So you roll 2d8 together, and then you add 3 to the
2
total.
and 5, so 7 plus 7, so it's 14.
14 damage. That thing is super dead. Splat! It just it gets hit like the spray of blood sprays on these other 2 behind it. They freak out quite a bit. Very intimidating shot with that critical hit. Now it is their turn.
That's like your 4th by now.
I know. Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
So I'm gonna
Exposed position
cast Ice Knife
becomes.
Nice knife. Okay. Great.
at 1.
Okay. Gets number 1. All right. All right.
What is it?
What does it do? It's a saving throw.
First one is a roll. and
Okay.
then
Yep.
they
Against
have
its
a
AC.
saving roll.
All right. Going against number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally they have to pick the same pair, but there's nothing left in the pair, so we can pick a new pair now.
15.
15. Ah, just enough. Yes, as you guessed, his AC is 15. The ice
15
knife
AC.
hits it, and you do some damage to it, I assume.
So that is 10d.
Okay. Roll a d10. Might be enough to kill it outright.
6.
6 is not enough to kill it outright.
Do you have any bonus?
It is wounded. No, I think it's a spell.
And then
They generally don't.
In a 5-foot radius,
Ah!
everyone rolls a 13 Constitution.
Okay, great. So first will be his partner is going to roll a 13 Constitution. All right. So yeah, the splinters of ice go in all directions. What is your spell DC?
13.
13. All right. It rolled a 14. So its immediate partner is untouched by the spray. The boss, as the boss comes towards, the boss picks up this goblin and switches places with it. You know this trick, and it's the one next to it takes the damage instead. So he swaps places, sacrificing one of his goblin friends. This one has a it fails. So roll your damage against goblin.
Is that the one?
What was
The
that?
main
roll a
boss is
4.
out in the open now, so.
But no more turns for the goblin's turn.
3d6.
Instant.
Okay,
Doing it at second level.
3d6. Uses his reaction to do that, by the way. 3d6? 3d6?
3d6.
Woo!
6, 8, 10.
Kills 1. Okay, so one of the partner is dead. Now, the next one, this is great. These area attacks are very good against these paired things. Go and roll. I roll a Constitution saving throw. Nope, it fails its Constitution saving throw. Roll 3d6 again. My goodness.
Oh.
7.
The boss like, stay away from each other! This fucking mage!
9.
9 kills that one. Excellent. All right, I know that we're just at 9 o'clock. Can I do one round just to sort of give you a good cliffhanger? Is it okay if you have to leave right spot on? I understand. Okay. So the ones that are in white, they always love to fire from hiding. So that's what they're going to do. Hang on. All right. I'm going to pick some of my targets more or less randomly. All right. Yep, so with advantage, these fire at you. I'm going to pick with each one with a D8. This is going to go against you. And I'm going to roll with advantage. And this thing has got, I'll take the 15. The 15 is enough, is a +4. I'll just make this easier. It does a 19 against your AC. You are pierced for 8 points of damage.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm glad I took a long rest.
Number 1 becomes visible. Number 2 is going to pick its target. It's going to pick you again. I'm afraid I rolled another 8. Oh dear, oh dear. So that one rolls with, so the other one, the pair is going to roll with advantage. I'm going to take the 10 plus 4 is 14. What's your AC?
My AC?
Yes.
14.
Oh, just enough to hit you. You get pierced by another arrow for 3 points of damage. White number 2 is going to try to damage you. It does 15 plus 4, 19 against your AC.
But I cast shield, so I have 20.
Hey, so shield, you burn spell slot and bonus magical energy surrounds you. You've used your reaction to do that, but the shield maintains. How smart are they? They are really dumb. They don't realize that to continue to shoot you is a bad idea, so I won't eliminate you from that. Okay, the other one of the pair, that is 2, by the way, they're visible, is going to, I rolled another 3, it's going to go against you again. So this is number 2?
No, that's proficiency.
All right.
No, it only lasts.
No, the shield for the whole round. Yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
thing.
he said you maintained it. So
That's right.
Keep going at you.
Awesome.
All right, exactly.
They just dum-dums.
So
So when it's your turn again, you can
the other one, the pair is still hidden, so it's rolling with advantage. That is a 14 against your AC, but your AC is elevated, so it's, no, the boss is like, no, stop shooting this, stop shooting the mage. So that's fine. Number 3 is going to target. Number 3, I rolled by you again. Oh my goodness, okay. Just the way the dice try to do.
Perfect.
Number 3, exactly. Oh no, with a 14, an 18, it's still not enough. Stop shooting the mage, the boss says. But they've appeared over here. Okay, they've really got to be, okay, they stopped shooting the mage. The other one in the pair is going to shoot your partner. That's the rule, so I'm not going to re-roll this, so we'll shoot your partner instead. And I'm going to roll with advantage. That is a 9, 13 against your AC.
14.
All right, so what kind of shield? You have hide armor, so it goes into your armor and does not damage you. That's number 3. Number 4 is going to pick somebody, you, and it's going to target you with, a 19 plus 4 is 23. That must be enough to do you.
Can I parry that?
Sure, it's a 19. Now, usually what I do is I tell you the roll, but yeah, feel free. It's a 19 plus 3 is 23. Parry is a special maneuver that she's just learned that she can lower the attack roll of something.
Sorry, so it's D8.
Okay, so you roll a D8. You can only spend so many of these as a battle master.
That's to reduce the damage. So
To reduce the
Yeah,
damage.
Yes, you gotta
Okay, great. So I'm going to do the damage for you
Wait
to
until
reduce
they-
it by that much.
Yeah.
he
All
damages
right.
you before you decide
It does
to use
4 points of damage to you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think you decide before the
Yeah.
damage gets rolled, don't you?
No, it's a
No,
reaction.
use your
It's a
reaction
reaction.
and expend 1 superiority die to reduce the damage.
Okay, right on.
So you,
Special ability.
All right, special ability. So that 4 damage reduced by how much? With your parry. Ting! You go knock it away.
Or do you want to use it now? Or?
So roll.
use it?
Yeah, you want to roll?
I thought you said the full health to help 4 points.
It does 4 points of damage unless you parry.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, 1.
Okay, you take away 1 of those points of damage. Okay, that's fantastic. And that was number 4. It's now visible over
How
here.
often can you parry?
It's gonna be spreading
I can
out.
do one of my special maneuvers with 1 attack, and I can only do it 4 times before. I think it's.
I'll start spreading out. So
Sure.
the other one
Yeah.
fires the other one in the pair. So I'm going to do with advantage
Oh, hang on.
with a 15 against your AC.
maneuvers.
16.
Yeah.
16, very good, okay. Now, if I'm firing someone in the pair, I said you can sort of tank for each other, so one of you can say like, no, I'm going to tank for them. So if I go for one in the pair and say like, no, don't fire at him, fire at me, please let me know. But it's too late, I've already done that one. 16 does, you have a very high armor, and that one is okay. I'm going to stop there. That's one group of goblins. We've got,
I have no
we've got a whole other set of goblins over here, and we're going to see what the boss is up to as this fight continues. So I'm going to take a photograph here. I'll reconstruct all this, so just don't remove anything from here. If you have tokens you want to take home, just give me a minute to take that picture. And there's really no other wrap-up to do. Remember, I'm still taking donations.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I can answer questions afterwards. I want to make sure because we're a few minutes over. So, thank you very much for coming. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You're ready for a big-ass combat coming up. We're going to keep going. Donations are still welcome. I'm still going to the pub. I'm going to Netherworld afterwards. That's very much welcome. And we know what the next session's about, so there's no need to vote for that. And I think that is it. If you have any questions, hang around afterwards. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to take a picture.